Thanks for everybody's patience. We're in the council chamber tonight for a study session. This is a hybrid meeting. The city council members of the public can view this meeting live on Channel 8, the city's website, and YouTube. Live Spanish translation services are being provided for tonight's council meeting by telephone. Please dial 720-386-9023 and use code 104091*. We'll now call the study session to order. And first up's presentation, Small Business Development Task Force. Natalia, Lizana.
Hello, council members. My name is Natalia Antesana. I'm the Senior Economic Vitality Specialist for the Economic Development. Since the inaugural meeting of the Small Business Task Force on October 2024, the group has worked diligently to identify and address key challenges facing Commerce City small business community. In this presentation, I want to introduce Spencer Kelpie, who is going to summarize the insight, key takeaways, and recommendations that have emerged from those efforts. Spencer?
First off, good evening, Council, and thank you for inviting us to present here tonight. Also, thank you for originally creating this space for small businesses to collaborate with each other, members of the Economic Development Committee, and then other city members and staff to collaborate on this Small Business Task Force project. It's actually been a very productive way to open communication and relationships between the city and the small business owner community. So just want to say thank you for that. And then before we jump into the slides themselves, I would like to take the opportunity to just acknowledge the participants who participated in this project over the last 12 or so months. There's myself, Spencer Kelp, owner of Vin 39 Wine Bar. We've got Liliana Soto of Los Dos Americanas. We've got Isabel Colacion, if I've got that correctly, thank you very much. Marisco Sinaloa, Michelle Kleben, she's owner of Bella Yoga Incorporated. Arlene Castro, owner and realtor IGO Realty, and then James Rowe of Focal Point 303. And then also special thanks to Natalia, Garrett, and Stuart for hosting, giving us the resources that we need, and then guidance through this process as well.
Thank you.
So let's see. Jumping right into it. Here we go. In the next 20 minutes or so, we want to share with you the defined goal of the task force, everything that we've been working on over the last 12 months, as well as what were the findings, and then the recommendations that we've got for forward-looking action to continue the progress of small businesses in Commerce City. And for the purpose of this presentation, by the end of the presentation, we just want to have provided you with policy-level recommendations that support small business growth, and then go a little bit beyond that, a little bit beyond recommendations, and actually present some pathways to actual continual growth for small businesses that either exist today and are looking to survive or thrive, or encourage and attract new small businesses going forward. Let's see. Key challenges for this one. I'd actually back it up just a quick step before we get to this and highlight a little bit of how we got to what the challenges were and how we identified them. So before we can come up here and make recommendations, we actually started by identifying what problems are we trying to solve? What exists here that we could have the biggest impact in as a task force? And to understand that, we needed to identify the goal of the task force and better understand the challenges that are going to arise in trying to achieve that goal. So we asked, by the end of the 12 months, when we're meeting once a month, every single 12 months, what do we want to have accomplished by the end of that year or so? And the answer is make recommendations to council that promote communication, collaboration, and growth between small businesses and the city, And then also provide economic development strategies that create more opportunities for existing small businesses to thrive and for new businesses to be attracted to Commerce City versus other cities and come here and have an easy opportunity to open and be successful. So once we establish the goal, then we need to understand how do we accomplish that goal, right? You know, a lot of that was asking questions, you know, pressure testing the premises that council put before this task force. So questions like, do small businesses need support from the city, or are they doing just fine? Do we need to attract more small businesses to Commerce City? And if so, why, right? In addition to, hey, if that is true, if we do want to make that happen, what's preventing that to happen today? Why do we have this task force? So what we've been doing to accomplish that over the last 12 months or so is we've met once a month. Each of these meetings was about an hour. First 30 minutes bringing in resources and partners to help us understand what's available to us in terms of resources and immediate impact we could have today and to make recommendations going forward. And then going out in between those meetings and then actually talking and communicating, collaborating with business owners, city members, both inside council or City of Commerce, right? And then other municipal consultants, as well as city planners, people who are objective, not necessarily in Commerce City, but had good insights. And then an entire ecosystem of resources that are available to small businesses today to say, hey, if we do have these problems, what's available for us to solve them? And that's where Garrett and Natalia brought in a lot of the city partners that exist today to help us solve those. So that was kind of the first, you know, 3 or 4 meetings. Establish the goal, what was it, how do we achieve that goal, and then go back out pretty much to the community in between those meetings and do fact-finding and information gathering. And then once we've put all those together, then we could come to the actual findings that we're looking at on this screen here today. So these are the top 3 identified ways to enhance or support small businesses in Commerce City today, either in the new business realm or existing business. For new business, it's, you know, place, price, and process. For, you know, new small businesses, when they're considering where to put it, in Commerce City, there's just simply not enough available small commercial retail places to put many businesses. So that's probably the biggest inhibitor to attracting more. Also, the price. So projected lease rates of these new developments are a bit cost prohibitive to new businesses as well. So that's a big focus area for a lot of businesses and business owners that I talk to who today are either deciding to wait and see what happens in Commerce City or planning to say, I probably can't do it. This is not a viable option, or moving to a different city. On top of that price, on top of lease rates, there's also a high tax rate in Commerce City compared to other business locations. I think Garrett's done a presentation on that previously, so we won't deep dive on that, but it does exist and wanted to mention it here. And then the third, with existing businesses that have opened in Commerce City, the biggest enhancement that they could see would be improving the process to opening a business, specifically in the areas of transparency. What is the process? What are the timelines? What are the expectations? Communication between city on different facilities like application processes, timelines, deadlines, things like that, and then moving through those efficiently. For existing businesses, the top 3 were resources, namely what resources are available and how do I access them? And then from there, code enforcement, collaboration with code enforcement, specifically some of the top points under code enforcement were consistency in regulation. One, from a standpoint of that business over time, is the enforcement enforced the same way year over year? And then the other example is 2 businesses that would be similar. You know, are they being regulated and enforced the same way as well? And then from there, adding better communication specifically related to bilingual and Spanish-speaking assets and resources for business owners that are predominantly just Spanish-speaking, and then a personal touch, right? More of a one-on-one collaboration with businesses to achieve these enforcement goals, as opposed to being on two different sides of an argument. And then the third is safety. So continuing to work with law enforcement agencies to make safety a top priority. And then also, in addition to crime prevention, communication, right? How do we report things that maybe are crimes, or should I report them? My door was wide open when I came in today, but I don't know if somebody left it open when they left or a crime committed here. Should I report this? Should I communicate with law enforcement on that? Or a window was broken. Should I report it? I don't know who did it. I can't prove who did it. Do I just need to replace the window, or should I be reporting this all the time? Or, hey, I have reported crimes against my business. Now I'm getting more crimes against my business in terms of retaliation. What do I do with that? How do I work with law enforcement to fix those? So just elevating the communication, I think, could be a long way to enhancing and supporting our small businesses as well. So in terms of policy recommendation, for new businesses, creating zoned areas that are specifically dedicated to hyper growth for commercial retail growth with an emphasis on small businesses. So that could look like multiple multi-unit small retail spaces and incentivizing developers to come in with that plan, or mixed use, making sure that we're building small businesses with enough residential infrastructure around it in a 1 to 3 mile radius to support that business. And this can be done, through various ways, including construction loan programs, tax rebates, land donations, anything to kind of reduce the risk for developers, the cost for developers, or incentivize them to want to come here and move quickly. The main thing is really just when we're at conferences with developers or builders, making sure we're putting up that red flag as Commerce City to say, hey, our city is open for growth. We've got these zoned ideas of how we want to enhance our city that we're really excited about. We're open to taking bids and seeing who would be interested in partnering with us. Let us know what would make that easier or an exciting project for you. We're happy to work with you on it so that we can get to that small business openings. On the price side, you've also got looking at not just, lightening the burden on the development, but landlords as well. How can we create better incentives for landlords so that they can keep the rents low as well? And whether that might be rent stabilization strategies similar to low-income housing, where there are subsidies offered for keeping those rents and leases low, or cooperative leasing models, community-based ownerships. We didn't land on the specific idea here, but just the exploration of landlord incentives on top of development incentives. And then for the process here, basically came down to 3 words: transparency of the process. Create a standard that if you're going to open a new business or develop in Commerce City, you know what that standard looks like. You know what's expected on both sides from both the city and the business, and keep everybody accountable to those standards. Consistency, so when businesses open, make sure they've got the same checklist, the same consistent practices, so they know what to expect, and kind of making Commerce City, hey, we know that their brand in Commerce City, when you're opening a business, is consistent and efficient, and then streamlining a lot of those practices as well to make sure that businesses are opening fast and effectively. So that would bring us to policy recommendations for existing businesses. The top thing I think that we're leading with right now is a resource navigation program. And the thought here is that this task force has probably come to its conclusion, right? Our job that we set out to do was to make policy level recommendations to council. That's what we're doing today. But in our process of finding out, how to support more small businesses, we actually found out that a lot of the businesses kind of need more of a bridge between the resources that exist today, because we do have a lot of resources. We've got great resources. That's not the problem. It's the live connection. So we would recommend taking this task force that we've got here and turning it into a small business ambassador program, very similar to what we're doing today, right? So you've got business owners and volunteers that are acting in a liaison capacity between the business owner community as a whole and then the city's resources, its partnerships that we're going to look at more in depth in a couple of slides. But just bringing all of those together and being that channel to connect city resources and partnerships to small businesses. And then from there, code enforcement. You know, I think the big takeaway here is create a collaborative approach between the enforcement teams and that city staff and the business owners themselves. You know, a lot of times with enforcement being what it is in a regulatory body, it can feel like two different sides kind of competing against a goal that needs to be achieved. But we felt, you know, in our talks with them that this could actually be two different sides collaborating to achieve that same code enforcement and safety goal. Part of that would look like increasing the number of Spanish and bilingual resources and assets, and that's kind of across the board. It was noticed that the online assets could be updated to be more inclusive of the Spanish population, as well as if there's paper forms, documents that are tangible assets and resources, those should be bilingual as well. And then even the people and the staff, whether it's businesses that are calling into the city for support or workers out in the field enforcing code and doing regulation stops and things like that. And then in addition to that, in the effort to build that collaborative team, we would recommend that you could develop more programs in the community, examples being the Good Neighbor Guide, My C3 Day of Service, or even just say, hey, if we're having an ambassador program, let's make sure we're collaborating with that ambassador program so we always have an open line of communication between the community as a whole and the city as a whole to achieve these goals that we're looking to achieve. And then under safety, I think we really noticed that there are a lot of great assets and a lot of great work that the law enforcement side and their units have already done. So the recommendation here is bringing those to life, right? Taking some of the content such as the Commerce City Business Safety Guides out into the world by roundtables, meetings, so we can take assets that business owners might not know exist and make them an interactive conversation with the actual community members and business owners who are looking for those resources. And then also get to know the businesses and law enforcement on a one-on-one. So more of that one-on-one personal touch in opportunities where we can. So from there, you know, I said we'd kind of look at what are the resources that we think exist today to help support small businesses. This is a pretty comprehensive list, and this is a lot of resources. We worked with a lot of these resources that are actually very, very good. Some of them would include the Small Business Development Center, E4All, Elevate Commerce, Colorado Enterprise Fund, Mikasa Resource Center, Commerce City Code Enforcement, Commerce City Law Enforcement, and you know, a lot of this task force, they were so good that in our processes, we actually engaged with them and worked with them. Myself, for example, worked with CEF to bid on capital funds for VIN 39 Wine Bar. Lillian, what did you reach out to, or SBDC? That's another thing. So Isabel and Liliana actually brought some of these resources out to meetups in the community, to business owners that they know are looking for these resources, and talking to other business owners about, hey, how do we get some extra funding if we're underbanked? Or, hey, we need some specialty resources or part-time resources for some of our small businesses, and they brought them out to the community. So I think that's exactly what we're talking about with this ambassador program, is how do we pull from here and bring it directly into the community, kind of looking forward. So in addition to that, in addition to meeting with some of these, in the way that we worked with some of these is said, hey, we're trying to achieve our goal. Which of these resources do we think would be best in line to have some direct impacts today? Bring those in those 1 hour meetings, first 30 minutes, gathering information, getting to know these resources and how we can utilize them to achieve our goal, and go from there. And then I think to wrap up, you know, after this is, I believe the city's been working on actually doing some legwork to see where some of these recommendations shake out and how viable they are. I believe Garrett knows a little bit more about those, so I'll let him speak to those.
Great. Thank you, Spencer. I appreciate all your work and the work of the whole task force. It's been a real pleasure working on with you all. Just wanted to really quickly, Council, follow up, because if you recall a couple months ago, we had an additional discussion about small business incentives, and we resolved as a group that this would be the appropriate time to follow up on those as well. So I've got just a couple more slides on that. So the concept was whether we could do some sort of commercial lease assistance. There's a short answer and a long answer. The short answer is we just adopted an economic development incentive policy that really one of the core principles of that policy is new revenues that are coming to the city, either in sales and use tax revenues or in some sort of permit fee for a construction or improvement. So through our current incentive policy, really we would have to see some sort of either a significant growth or investment into the business before we could do some sort of direct assistance through one of our incentive policies. The longer answer is we did in that same document approve a small business oriented program through our shopping center incentive. The idea here is to get additional small spaces where small businesses can thrive built. We, as a task force, identified that one of the barriers to small business growth is the budget for a small business to build their own space is, at this point, nearly impossible for most small businesses. So if we can incentivize the developer community to build small business spaces as a part of a larger shopping center, then we can help increase that inventory. So that was already built into our incentive policy that was approved a few weeks ago to help that inventory increase. The other answer is just going back to this ecosystem map. There are so many resources out there for small businesses to be able to either get some technical assistance in evaluating the revenue streams and inventory and the way they do their business through SBDC and a variety of other partners, or direct financial assistance through a variety of either local banking programs. All of our utility partners like Excel and United have programs. One really important one that we don't plug nearly enough is through the Colorado Enterprise Fund. We have a small business revolving loan program. The city has already partnered with CEF to provide small business loans to businesses where we don't have to become that direct funding partner. We already have a partner that does that. So, in addition to that, workforce and a variety of other assistance programs. So that's the longer answer, is that I think the real focus needs to just be on helping the community, and this is what one of their key recommendations was. It's just helping the community understand what resources are already out there that exist in the ecosystem. So it's very important. But again, I just want to thank our task force for all their hard work. As we open it up for questions, we'd love to invite our task force members to help answer those questions as well, based on their research and their insights. So I'll turn it back over to you, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other task force members that are here today would like to come forward and express your experience? When you come forward, just state your name and what business you have.
Hello. Thank you for having us here. My name is Liliana Soto with Las Dos Americas Tortilleria.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Arlene Castro with iGo Realty.
Thank you.
My name is Isabel Colacion with Marisco Sinaloa.
Thank you.
And me again, Spencer Kelp, Vin 39 Wine Bar.
Well, thank you. I appreciate everybody's effort with this task force, 12 months of meeting and great input. So if one of you guys want to talk at a time, just your experience and what you feel that we have before us is sufficient, being small business owners.
For me, it was a great experience, learning experience. I was not aware, as a business owner here in Commerce City for 25 years, of all the resources that there are available for businesses. And it opened up a lot of how do we do this? And from questions, how do we do this, to this is where we can go now and find the answers. We also found out that a lot of our partners here in Commerce City as business owners need guidance, like I did, because I was not aware of all the resources. So it was a great learning experience. And like Spencer was saying, we would like to take even further this opportunity to do more networking and to do this to make this an ambassador program very fruitful and very successful in order for other businesses to thrive in Commerce City. We think it's a great place to be, and we are very proud to be business owners here in Colorado, or in Commerce City, and it's just a great experience. I will never forget it, and I learned many things from it, and I'm looking forward to being part of this ambassador program.
All right, thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
And for me, it was a great opportunity to share my experience with building a building and experiencing the shortfalls that I came across with communication and resources. And also as an opportunity to meet great business folks, I mean, hardworking. We all talked about the, frustration of dealing with the processes. So being able to collaborate together was very insightful. Also, I was surprised at the resources that were available. Had I known it, I probably would have tapped into those resources. The other thing that was really important is to talk about making sure that people understand the process. When I went into this building process, nobody gave me, okay, this is what you have to do, these are the timelines. So I kind of went in a little bit blind. And so knowing that my experience can help somebody else really means a lot. And if I can help somebody to, start their business or grow their business, I'm all for it. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Hello. For me, first of all, I wanted to thank the people from Economic Development to give me this chance to come out here and learn as well. I have learned a lot. I know when I first reached out to Economic Development, I was desperate for my small business, and thanks to them, there are resources, but I didn't know about them. So thank you. I really, really appreciate it. I have learned a lot. I'm very thankful for everything I have learned with you guys, and what I have been doing now is just spreading the word, telling people, small businesses within the Derby community, that there is help. There's resources, and we just have to communicate. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
I know you heard me speak a lot, but on the experience, it was a really good experience, mostly because of the leadership that the Economic Development Committee brought to it, right? Kind of gave us a lot of guidance on how to work through achieving this process. And I think the most illuminating thing was probably how willing other businesses were willing to share what their problems are, what their grievances are, what would help them, the state that their business is in, whether they're thriving and expanding and having a hard time doing so, or just staying above water, or a fear of potentially going under in the next 6 to 12 months, and being very open about the types of resources that they would like to see, what their struggles are, and coming together to give us enough information to compile the data to say, hey, here's the findings from your small business community as a whole, and then work towards a plan to be able to help them out. So that was
Thank you. Appreciate every one of you coming forward with your experience. I have Mayor Pro Tem Noble and then Councilmember Kim.
Thank you all. It was very interesting for me as well, and I'm so glad that you participated and took so much away from it yourselves. You'll all be founding members of the Ambassador Program, right? And I am tracking the fact, Spencer, that you promised a wine bar, and I haven't seen that yet, so you'll have to update us on that as well.
If you remember, one of the key points that we talked about was place in Commerce City. In the development process, I was not able to find a suitable place for the wine bar here in Commerce City. So exciting for me. It is opening. We have timelines and projections for opening. Unfortunately for right now, it's not going to be in Commerce City. It's going to be in Brighton over in the Prairie Center. But I'm hoping that this is the first business venture, and we can, by the time we get to number 2, we've got lots of available spaces for more and different businesses for Commerce City, specifically the Reunion area as well. So quick update there.
Okay, but since you bring that up, and this is on people's minds a lot, is that things go to Brighton instead of coming to Commerce City. So this wasn't the direction I was going to go with my next questions, so I'll come back later. But could you please explain what it was that made you go to Brighton rather than Commerce City?
The first and the biggest issue that I was trying to get past was just a place to put it. There are some commercial retail spaces, but not one that was going to suit a 3,500 square foot restaurant and wine bar with a full kitchen, 100-person seats in Commerce City. Right, so we had to kind of expand, and that made us look out into Brighton, some of the areas that were available there, and then also Green Valley Ranch as well. So, I live in Reunion, so first and foremost, the priority was put the business in Reunion where I'm supporting my community. So that was the biggest one. To try to get around that place issue and not having the space. We did look at building, like Garrett kind of alluded to, just too cost inhibitive for a first business venture, an opportunity, too much risk to try to take on that big of a price tag to buy land and build and develop there.
And Spencer, what happened to, I think you were looking at Potomac and 104th, that it was, whose property is that? Mark Bush's?
That one wasn't ours. I do know one potential business owner, right, that I alluded to, that wants to build in Commerce City. It was a gym,
Right.
a fitness style gym. They were looking out in that area. That goes to Price, which was number 2 on my list for new businesses, because I think they reported, including triple N's, if I'm remembering correctly, those price points being around $56 a square foot, which in neighboring areas, if you're in like I forget if you call it like a Class A type of zoning, you're probably looking to $36, including square foot, so $20 difference per square foot for small businesses, and notably ones with tighter margins. And then if you get into Class B or C, then those rate differentials get even greater.
And Reunion Metro District does not have 2 sets of mill levies for retail and homeowners. So retail businesses or the builders also pay 98 mills. So everybody, it's more expensive
Right.
to build on that property.
And that's where a lot of the focus on the new business presentation was centered around those things, right? There are a lot of talking points around those, or recommendations or offerings of, hey, we don't have exactly laid out what the recommendation should be, but hopefully we can figure out something in these arenas, because I think that those are the opportunities where we've got the biggest chance of attracting new businesses, and specifically local businesses and small businesses, boutiques, retail, small businesses, and things
New
like that.
metro districts have 2 tiers, one for residential and one for retail and businesses. So that's different in our new regulations, but the old metro districts are the ones that will be the challenge. I don't want to dominate this, so I'll let other people too ask questions, and I'll come back around what I was going to talk about. Thank you.
Councilmember Kim.
Yeah, hey, thank you. First and foremost, to the entire task force, I want to say thank you all for being a part of this all together. Really appreciate it. I guess my first question is more directed towards Mr. Anderson. Mr. Anderson, with regards to, I looked at the report too, it talked about sales and use tax. Can you provide a little bit more insight as to what exactly are we looking at with sales and use tax in regards to not just new businesses, but I mean, what about existing?
Are you asking about specifically the incentive policy?
Yes.
Yeah, so any new revenues that can come to the city, we can share a portion of that back based on our new incentive policy. So if if a business is growing either by expanding their retail lines somehow or somehow creating a new revenue stream, then we can help. If they're building a new building, then we can help with the costs that we have obtained as new revenues based on that new building. Same thing expanding, but it typically is going to take some sort of new investment in that retail space for us to be able to come to the table with our just strictly the incentives that are in our policy. That's where the rest of that ecosystem comes in, because we can definitely help in 24 other ways in providing general guidance, other financial resources, but specifically our policy is going to be based on new investment into either the space or new retail sales that are expected to be generated from the new business.
Okay, so it sounds like to me for existing businesses right now, with regard to the sales and use tax, as far as trying to incentivize or providing some sort of incentive, I guess, to them, is probably not as it's not feasible today.
It would be a little bit difficult for an existing business, yes.
Okay.
If they're going to be changing what they do to increase revenue, then yeah, we'd love to have a conversation about what we can do to help share some of that new revenue back to them.
Okay. And then I guess for me as a general comments overall, appreciate the presentation overall. Great insight altogether. You know, I think some of the other things I think about, you know, is, for example, you know, potentially a city or maybe the city or this resource group is able to work with existing building owners about their rise in rent, right? Year over year rent. I can tell you right now, for example, McNeil Family Chiropractor, located in that plaza there, her rent went, you know, pretty much year over year, averages around $150 to $200 a month of an increase. What's the other one? My neighbor's hair salon down in the Bell Creek area, theirs actually went up from last year to this year, almost, I think, on low end, I think it was about close to $400 or so, but there's other businesses in that area as well. And unfortunately, she had to shut down operations in there because she couldn't afford it anymore. And then I also think about, for example, you know, in the Bell Creek Plaza area, where Michelle Claiborne is located at, I think about advertising, you know, to, you know, off of Highway, what is that? Highway 85, to potentially try to help work with the neighbors, I guess, with the builders or the owners, essentially, to figure out how can we help add in some of those things to where those businesses are potentially recognized from, you know, traffic that flows north and south. And then the other part too, maybe from a city perspective as well, with Maris, what's the other one? I can't say it right. I'm going to mess it up. Mariscos Sinaloa, located off of Highway 2, off of Locust Street, where that's just a one-way out versus being able to turn in. Those are some of the other things I think about, just more of a, you know, not so much from a policy standpoint or maybe, you know, this forum here, but I think about it from more of a, you know, is there ways that we can try to help soften those areas to where, you know, people could turn down that street if they're coming off of Highway 82 versus having to go all the way around to the businesses. So that's all I got for now. Thank you. Oh, actually, I do have one more thing. Spencer, you had mentioned some of the things you had mentioned about the, you know, place was the number one priority, number one thing that was the biggest thing, right? Trying to find a location for that. I just want to know from your, obviously with this, with what you were attempting to do within the city, what other, would you be able to share some insight with regards to some of the risk adverse things that you think about or you potentially also have to go through? I mean, such as, Is it traffic counts? Is it, rooftops? Is it, is it just, it doesn't matter? Let's say hypothetically, the building was available. Just want to get your insight on that.
I think everything you brought up matters, right? So, typically what you would want to do is like a feasibility report and get those traffic studies and how many homes and roofs and make sure that your business is viable before spending all the investment to put it up. And those things matter. So, I would definitely say the location is something that, for example, we thought a lot about. We knew if we put a business in our area, it would probably be on 120th or 104th, where people know other businesses already go or are on the, say, morning or evening traffic patterns of going to work or coming home, those sort of things. So yeah, all of that in addition to rent rate is a consideration and a factor, as well as something else that we are experiencing now as we are opening our businesses. Time is money, right? And the longer it takes to get through approval processes or understand what it takes to get approved for sales tax licenses or liquor licenses or those sort of things, or the more iterations, the more questions a potential business owner has to keep responding to a city, it costs money in either attorney fees or bank costs from a lender and carrying an interest note. All of those sort of things are just things that create a much higher risk factor for potential business owners. And so if it's your first venture, like it is for my wife and I, you want that risk factor to be as low as possible, right? You want as much of a sure thing as you can get. So, many of those unknowns or those edge cases, like, hey, do we have enough traffic count or, rooftops in this area in the feasibility report? If it's close, that could be a deciding factor of maybe not doing a business there for your first one, see how that city progresses in the future and come back to it, but open your first one somewhere else. So I hope that helps or answers your question.
It does.
Okay.
It does. Thank you very much. That's all I got. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Douglas and then Councilmember Dukes.
Thank you. Thank you all for your commitment to this project here, and welcome as ambassadors for small businesses in Commerce City. So I had a lot of thoughts during this presentation, and sounds like we've got some work to do, especially with knowing, Spencer, that you couldn't start your first business in Commerce City, and that makes me really sad because we couldn't accommodate you, and so you had to go elsewhere. And that's why we have a lot of work to do here. So it sounds like we're going to be reliant on the developers and providing them incentives. I hope that with providing them the incentives that will allow them to start building spaces where small businesses can come in, that we will also be making sure that there are rent caps on something like that. So if they're going to benefit from incentives, then there has to be some kind of oversight with these people so that the small businesses can come in and establish themselves. I know that you said that it's impossible for people to come in and build, although Arlene did that. Arlene, is there a possibility that you could come up and share your experience? Because I know you started out leasing a space.
Yes, I did. Over at North Forest, I was there for 6 years. And what drove me to want to build is the rents were going to go up. And even though I had signed an extension with them to guarantee the rent, they weren't going to honor it. Okay? So I had to do some thinking and go, okay, I've been doing this a long time. I need to have an exit strategy. So when I retire, I have something, and I'm not just giving money away in rents. So fortunately, I was lucky enough that my husband and I, along with my family, helped us to establish the opportunity to build, because we had a budget. We were told, okay, if you go through, do a first, and then you have an SBA second, you put 10% down. That sounded great. Well, then the numbers changed. Costs went up. All these things happened. So in the end, we ended up putting more. And if it wasn't for the support of my family as well, we wouldn't have been able to do it. The costs were a lot more, and a small business can't do that usually. So my situation is a little bit out of the ordinary because we did it, on our own. But small businesses, even just to lease, it's really difficult because the taxes that these owners with these shopping centers and these offices are very high. That's the other issue. That's why some of these leases that are out there, they're increasing them on people because they have to pay higher taxes. So, you've got a lot of things happening in play. And the other thing is there's some land around in Commerce City. Whoever these owners are, maybe give incentive to these landowners to say, hey, you know what, put up the land, maybe we'll give you an incentive on your tax. Maybe they can have an opportunity to make money, and then the tenant can have a cap on the lease. Because I do feel bad for them because it is expensive. So that's how we were able to do it is because of that situation.
So you did your own financing, is that?
Well, through First Bank, through the SBA, so we had a first and a second, and family, because we went over budget, not once, not twice, 3 times.
Sounds scary.
Oh, it was scary. It was close. But we did it, so, and I love to be able to have the businesses in our building. We have our real estate side, but I've also leased it out to, an insurance agency, health markets, a small construction company. And, keeping the rents fair. I don't have an increase on any of them because I want them there. I want them to stay there. I want them to have the opportunity to grow. As long as I'm covering what our costs are, benefits me, benefits them. So if we can have more of that, that would be fantastic.
Thank you for sharing all of that. I really appreciate it. And congratulations to all of you for staying strong and being persistent. And it takes a lot of work. As far as I think a recap on all of this, I would love to see a report done. I would like to hear all the stories that that came up while you were in this process, and I would like to know, what kind of things prohibit you from choosing Commerce City so that we can overcome those things. So I'd like to see a report that includes the good, the bad, and the ugly so that we can really get a handle on what we need to do moving forward. Otherwise, this will be for nothing in my opinion. We need to establish something that we can refer back to. So I really appreciate all of your hard work and input into this, and continued good luck for your future endeavors. And Spencer, you better open the next one in Commerce City. All right?
You got it. Yeah.
Councilmember Dukes.
Thank you, Mayor. Just first off, thank you all for your time, commitment, and taking a year to really go through this task force and being due diligent around the issues. When I, as the sponsor for this motion to create this task force, you have, and then with Sean Ford, Councilmember Ford, being the second on this, I think you have really met the expectations that we've had in terms of really being able to do a deeper dive into what are some of these challenges, what are some of the opportunities, but also you highlighted some you highlighted like an effort to eliminate blind spots. One of the key discussions that me and Councilmember Ford had early on is around the makeup of this task force and choosing to say we don't want council members on this task force because we needed to have truly community-driven process that is unfiltered, it's unbiased. And when I look at this report and look at the ecosystem, look and hear about the process today, as well as throughout this process, it really hit the mark, in my opinion. Your 6-month report was amazing as well, and so you look at the consistencies that you put in that 6-month report, as well as when you do the final report, it creates a historical record that we can begin to move on and move forward to. So thank you all. And before we leave tonight, I'd love if we can take a picture to make sure that you are recognized as this inaugural group that has really transformed the conversation. And I'm a big believer in, having empathy without action. It's lost opportunity, right? And so this is understanding the challenges early on. We created this task force, so thank you. And now we have these recommendations that we want to move forward with in some form or fashion in the near future so that we can address this issue. This is a big issue across our city. I can't thank you enough for looking at this issue across the city. When we look at your presentation and existing businesses and new businesses and thinking through the challenges there, this gives us a roadmap to really consider and process. And so thank you again for that. I do have, Ms. Soto, you're a part of the small business showcase, right? As we did some of the small businesses showcase at Music in the Park. I do have a question for you. How did that work? And as everyone knows, we were able to add at low cost or free pop-up tents for our Music in the Parks for businesses to be able to promote and share opportunities at all of our well-attended Music in the Parks. And I know you were there at a couple of them. Can you share a little bit of your experience there?
Yes, it was great. It was a great experience. It was very surprising that many people in Commerce City residents didn't know about my business. And just to see them come and enjoy a little bit of what we have to offer was just very rewarding. And it was also very rewarding to see other businesses, partners, like Isabel, like La Michoacanita, and the donut, our donut place, our favorite donut place in Commerce City, just to see interacting and networking together and trying to find, solutions there. And when we would talk, and we would just be very excited because we had people, hey, this is great. We're part of Commerce City, and you guys are making a big difference with all these businesses. So it was very rewarding I can say now that I have friends within the business community that we can rely on each other, and that was part of that.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And I'm hoping it helped with their business overall. I mean, at the end.
Absolutely. Now, a lot of people now that would come, they're like, well, I thought this was like just a bar. And like, no, we've never been a bar. We're a family restaurant with a bakery and a tortilla factory. And now we have, thanks to that opportunities, we have a lot of new customers walking in. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing that experience. That's something that I hope we keep moving forward as we promote that. And I guess I have a question for Spencer. You mentioned some of the things you said. I just appreciate the context around trying to start a new business and things like time is money, the consistency matters. And so if we don't have consistency in this process, then it's a risk. Like you said, the number of questions that you have to keep coming back to as a city creates more risk for any business, whether it's new or existing business. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think, and this isn't just coming from me, right? Because I'm not actually going through the Commerce City process. A lot of the feedback that I gave is from businesses that do exist in Commerce City that did go through the opening process. And the biggest feedback there was, one of the things that kept coming up was all of the underlying and the hidden costs when the process isn't efficient. So a recommendation was, creating a process that's transparent from the start, transparency in what does it take, what are the steps to get through this process, what are the timetables at each step that should be an expectation for both sides. You either have to submit paperwork, or if something like an application is submitted, there should be a timestamp for when an approval or a decline on that application comes through, right? Otherwise, you're carrying unhidden or hidden costs, right? That are kind of eating the margins away at the beginning. So the transparency there, I think, would be really helpful in keeping both parties accountable to the process and efficient. And then consistency. It seems like one of the things is there are a lot of decision makers. If I'm kind of repackaging this information correctly, there's a lot of decision makers in the approval process, right? So if we can kind of scale that down and say, what's the smallest amount of people that we could have who are competent and autonomous and have the authority to make the decisions, that would be great. And if it was all standardized, hey, if you are this type of business, if you meet these qualifications, unless there's some huge reason why it's no, then the answer is yes. We're gonna move forward with this business, and so the standardization is very clear as well. And then keeping it, if that was a move that the city wanted to adopt, then really respecting the bounds of that committee or their smaller body groups, so that they can work directly with the businesses and move everybody through that process efficiently. It's kind of what I heard, basically.
Thank you for sharing from what you heard. And again, I appreciate you guys went out to the community and listened and did your research with businesses existing and want to be new businesses. So I really appreciate that. I have just a couple more questions. One is with the recommendations for policy, and as we go through and process, how do we work to codify these policies or these changes? I'm curious around, in your opinion, this could be for the whole group, if we address these, what culture does it shift, or the perception of Commerce City? Will it change the perception of Commerce City if we're able to actively go through and act on these recommendations, like in terms of change the perception, and then will it create excitement? And I guess that's the other question. And the last part is, like, how long would you anticipate this taking, like in terms of culture shift, change, policy? What is your gut as you listen to, and I guess I'm curious around how long should it take, or how urgent should this be? And that's open to anybody. I see some head nods, yes, no, maybe, possibly.
Well, I will tell you from selling real estate in Commerce City, it's important. People
Okay.
want to have places they can go. They don't want to have to go over to Prairie Center, They want the convenience of a mom and pop kind of breakfast place would be great. Not your chains. We already have a lot of chains.
Yeah.
But if you can have something where people can actually start a business, and I think there would be local support, because if you go into Brighton, Old Town Brighton, there's some restaurants there, even in Commerce City area, they have small restaurants that are owned by families that I think people would support. It's the affordability, like Spencer was saying. Where are they going to be? Where can they afford to be?
Okay.
And there just really isn't anything around there. I mean, that's why I built the building. I would have gone somewhere else. I would have bought a building if it was existing,
Yeah.
but it wasn't that. But it is important. And I think when something happens, when you're making this change, it takes some time. I would say at least 6 months for it to start impacting. But if people will get really excited if they know there's going to be something built in the area.
Okay.
And I think it would draw more people to want to live here and not want to leave.
And are there other things we can do? So with building and expanding space, I love how you said space, price, and what was the last one? Process. And so if we can work on addressing the space and pricing with some of the recommendations, but in the process. But in the meantime, like you mentioned, it takes a little time. Are there other things we should be thinking about to, like the small business showcase, or other things that we should think about to expand?
Signage, like you
Signage.
were talking about. I mean, on 104th, for example, you have builders on signs, but you don't have businesses on the street anywhere. So, and I remember bringing that up when I first moved into the North Forest office. I thought, oh, this would be great. We could just put our name up on that. And I called the city, and they said, oh, no, that's only for builders. Well, what about the small businesses? We don't offer anything.
Okay,
That's what I heard.
thank you. Any other comments about that question around, in the meantime, what else could we do within the 6 months, like signage or the showcase, other things that you think will be helpful?
I think in regards to you're asking them, how long will it take? I think if we do create and we move on with this ambassador program, once we start visiting other businesses and partnering with them, they're going to see the change, and they're going to see, some proactive movements that we're making, or anything that we were being proactive with them. And I think that's going to send a really strong message that Commerce City is willing to open to new businesses. And for me, myself, I was seeing the new development on Highway 85 and 112. There's a gas station, and I believe we had spoken about some new buildings going on there that they were going to be leasing. I was looking at something to open another, part of my business there.
Yeah.
And so it is exciting to, to find out about all these resources, about all the things that now I know about that many other business owners don't know about. So this program is going to direct and help us move along faster and with more transparency, I think.
Okay, thank you. That answers I'll pass on. If the other folks have questions, I'll come back.
Councilmember Ford?
Thank you. Thank you all for being here tonight. I think it's been a great conversation so far. One of the words that I haven't heard yet tonight is trust. I mean, we've danced around it a little bit, but when you step into that role and want to bring your business to Commerce City, you have to trust that process. You have to, and it's really difficult in Commerce City just because we have multiple entities that you have to deal with. We have a separate fire department, you have a separate water department, you have the city. And when it comes to inspections, the perfect world is we want them to come in and say, hey, everything's great. But if they come in and they don't talk with you and they leave, and then 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, you get notice that you failed your inspection because of something that you could have fixed pretty quick. It helps the process if someone is able to go, hey, sorry, but I'm not gonna be able to pass you today, but you need to get these things fixed so that we can help shorten that process, because time is money, and make that available. Growing up here, one of the thriving areas was IVK Shopping Center, which happens to be where King Soopers used to be off 64th Avenue. And there were a lot of small businesses that operated in there. When I was a kid, there was a White's department store, and you could buy a washer and dryer. You could buy sporting goods equipment. I mean, Alco, duck walls, and that area has kind of degraded over time and doesn't have the same appeal that it used to have. And I see that in Derby too. I go to Derby every morning and have breakfast, whether it's at Tamales by Sarah or at Tasty Donuts. And at 9 o'clock in the morning, I'm leaving the Derby area, and I'm thinking, number one, and we've talked about this at council, number one, it's really hard to get out of Derby. Once you find out how to get into Derby, to get out of Derby because of the traffic on 72nd, there's no lights, it's hard to navigate through the Derby area. So we've talked about it, and we're moving forward to try to get a light at Monaco and 72nd, which is going to help with some of that access. But what I notice when I'm in Derby is there's not very many people there. It's not that thriving area that it used to be. Most of the businesses aren't open most parts of the day. You either have some evening businesses or some businesses that are not open at all. And it's important that we try to thrive to get those businesses to all be open and all be taking advantage of each other's customers. You go to Derby to get a donut, and the barber shop's open. You can get go over and get your hair cut. The flower shop's open. You can go over and pick up some flowers for whatever occasion you might be picking them up. but they're never all open. I mean, literally Tamales by Sarah and the donut shop are the only things open in the morning. And that part of it's very frustrating. We also have the old small business resource center that the city owns. I don't know what we're doing with that now, but if we're really lacking spaces, I'd love to, there's never anybody there. I'd rather see somebody there operating a business and providing revenue and generating customers for all the other businesses too. I mean, so just thinking outside of the box. And then when you get up into the northern area, I know I have a friend that is a developer at 120th and Chambers. And I know he went to 3 different restaurants, offered to give them the land, offered to help them finance the construction of the building on the hard corner of 120th and Chambers. But what I'm hearing tonight is there's a disconnect between the development community and the small business community. The development community doesn't realize that there are users that would utilize some of those spaces and take advantage of some of those opportunities. But there's this disconnect. And really, we really need to have the developers and the small business community sit down together and talk about what some of these needs are. They're the ones with the land. They're the ones with the opportunity. They're the ones with the ability to say, I need a restaurant and I will give you the land if you build the restaurant, because that helps make the rest of their commercial development get some legs under it. So I think there is a gap that has to be filled, and I really think that the development community, the people that own the land and have the property to develop, and the small businesses that have the need to develop a small business can work together. One of them was 104th and Blackhawk, Mark Campbell, and Southwestern Investment. He came before the council and he wanted to develop apartments on the back end. It's commercial on the front end. And I remember Ben Huseman was the mayor, and the discussion was, well, you can go ahead. We'll allow you to do the apartments, but you have to have all your commercial built first. And not only that, you can't have a gas station, you can't have any auto parts stores, you can't have any of these things. And so you take all of that out of the picture, then he's left with, what can I have? I can have a shoe store. I'm limited. And I think it would be really helpful if in those case scenarios where the small business community in Commerce City could talk to someone like Southwestern Investment and say, hey, we have people that are interested in having businesses on the frontage of 104th. You don't have to have an auto parts store. You can have this shop and this shop and this shop. These are services that are needed within our community. But I just think there's that disconnect, and I would love to help try to get that connection made to where you can actually talk to the people. They may have, a 40-acre piece of property that they're going to develop in commercial, but they don't know that you exist. They don't know that there's a restaurateur that would love to have the opportunity for free land. I watched them try to give it away 3 times, free land, the whole corner of 120th and Chambers. They wouldn't take it. And so I really think that if there was a collaborative effort to get all parties involved talking together, it would help the developers see a need for some small inline opportunities for the small business community. And it wouldn't just have to be a drive-through restaurant. It wouldn't just have to be a large-scale bank. It could be some small businesses within, and maybe it helps them create a better scenario. Carlson's are going to be developing, and Mark Bush, commercial at 120th and Potomac. And that area is going to start happening pretty quick. And I would love to see some small businesses in that area. So, there are those opportunities around. I have a friend of mine that's a rancher, but he owns the land at 104th and Highway 85. south, just across the street from Bell Creek, from Highway 85 all the way to the Platte River. And I have tried to talk to him to get him to agree to annex to Commerce City, because he has to. He thinks maybe he doesn't have to, but to get water and the agreements that we have with the county and stuff, they will require him to annex to the city of Commerce City. He doesn't like the tax rate, and that is a big downside for us. But, you know, we just had an election, and you see the fire department, God bless them, they need new equipment, but another half-cent sales tax on sales and use tax, not property tax. And, you know, that is something I have never seen in all the years I've been here, is some of these entities going out for sales and use tax rather than property tax for those kind of services. But it did pass, so that's going to add another half-cent sales and use tax. And so if you break it down and you see where all the money goes between the school district, the fire district, the water district, and because there's so many different entities, they're not all part of the city. It makes it difficult, and we want to see, I want to see the fees come down and be more reasonable and competitive with the cities around us for developing businesses of any kind. You know, those things make a difference. We have to be collaborating with the water district and the fire district. They're going to be out inspecting those businesses, and we want to make sure that we're all on the same page in trying to grow the small businesses within our community. But I am really, really thankful that all of you are here and that there is a desire to push this farther. But when it comes to all the other organizations, whether it be the Chamber of Commerce or Adelante or any of them that are helping the small business community, I think it's really important that you include all the players. So far, small business has been in one box, development has been in another box, and all of the entities take their shot at you when you're developing. I know when you were building Igo Realty, you know, it was, hey, I can't get my permits, I can't get my inspection approved by the water district. And once you get through that, then you're back to waiting a month or 2 months for the city to get their stuff done. And it stretches it out, and time is money, and that kills a lot of people that want to build a small business. So I think that trust piece of it has to be a big piece on the front end. When you come to the city and they say, hey, this is what it's going to take, these are the things you're going to have to do, and we're going to help you through that process one-on-one. I have a ton of faith in Garrett. I really do. I think Garrett is the kind of guy that's going to be able to reach out and say, hey, these things matter. I have this person, they need to get their inspection done. You know, we've got to get in a process where we're all working together so that it flows in a manner that it should. Not a month here, a month there. By the time you're done, you've been sitting there waiting for your building to be built for, you know, a year, and now all of a sudden you realize that you have a detention requirement, and now you got to give half your land up to build a detention pond, which you weren't planning on at all, and it kills your entire thing. I mean, so I think trust and a clear pathway forward, but I do see tonight in the discussion, there's a huge disconnect between those who have the land and those who need the use collaborating together. And that's not necessarily us. It's small businesses and the landowners and the developers, the Mark Campbells and the Russ Wattersons of the world having a conversation about what you can do that will be beneficial to our residents. To me, that's the most important part, is we need services that provide the need that our residents have. You know, sure, we need nail salons and we need barbershops and we need insurance companies and things like that, but we don't need all of it to be that. We need to have a little more rounded approach. When you want to go, you know, I go up, there's a Mexican ice cream truck, food truck that sits at the auto parts store there on 104th. I go up there all the time. They have the best elote, mango nadas. I go up, I get a mango nada and a large elote, and I go home and watch the ball game. It's unbelievable. And then the guy tells me, yeah, we're not going to be here through the winter. This is our last week to be here. And I thought, well, you got to be kidding me. There's always a line. And they said, well, you can come to our where our other store is, over off Peoria Street in Green Valley Ranch. And then in the spring, maybe we'll be back. But you get this resource for our residents, and people start realizing it's there, taking advantage of it. The business starts to thrive, then they're gone. And then they come back, they have to recreate their whole customer base again. It would be nice if they could stay and continue to grow those customers. But we have to have collaboration, well-rounded collaboration, and I really think the small business group needs to meet with the landowners and the developers. That's all I have. Thank you again for being here.
Add on to that, actually, I think that is something that we haven't explored. Like, we've got the ambassador program that we thought of for connecting existing businesses to resources. But I know in talking to potential entrepreneur community, that's something where it's almost just word of mouth, or a little bit of information here, or I heard that about that plot of land, or there might be a development of this here. They might have extra retail spaces, but adding on to that ambassador program is finding out who are the landowners, who are the most likely candidates for developers in the area, and then we can probably work to identify potential entrepreneurs in that are, specifically geared towards building in Commerce City, and seeing if we can put together roundtables and sessions for them as well.
Absolutely, and it's not just, I don't think you necessarily need to meet with all of the landowners or developers. You primarily need to meet with the ones who have commercially zoned property that are going to, it's not if, it's when they're going to build some commercial developments, and how different pieces of the small business community will fit into their plan, because some of them are just home builders. But I know at one time, Reunion, Oakwood, and even Shea back in the day was looking at building their town center and having some opportunities in their town center. Haven't heard a peep, but it's important to have this group meet with those who have the ability to create commercial opportunities, so that they know there are other customers out there than just the McDonald's. You know what I mean? There are people who want to have inline a barbershop and stuff. And frankly, when you go into that area off 104th, over there at Turnberry, and you drive in, sure, you see the 7-Eleven and you see the Starbucks. But you get in there, and then all of a sudden there's the pizza place. But you get past that, and now you start having the brew pub. There's a great barber shop back in there. People don't see that, and signage is another thing. And I know a lot of it's restricted by our code, and we need to start finding a way to be able to celebrate your businesses. If that means, and I'm just speaking for myself, not the rest of the council, but if that means maybe have so many days of the year that a small business can have some shark fins out by the road, trying to attract business. Igo Realty wants to have a few shark fins, and they're allotted so many days of the year, and they can't be, all a month straight, but so that you can have some exposure, because exposure is important for a small business. But I think those are the kind of things I would like to see the city look at, and what would be acceptable to allow some of those uses. When a grand opening happens for a small business, whether it's in that the park there on 104th, I forget the name of it, you had mentioned it earlier, where you don't have any signage, hey, guess what? Be able to have a grand opening sign out front. We have a new business in this area, so you get some shark fins up for a week, a grand opening banner, try to get some of those customers. so that those customers start giving you the word of mouth that you need. But I really think there's a lot of really great things Commerce City could do to help support and attract more small businesses in our community. And those are just some thoughts from sitting here listening tonight, but I'd love to help. Thank you.
All right, thank you. We're going to the second round here. Mayor Pro Tem Noble, and I'm going to put a timer on this because they gave us 45 minutes. This really should have been an hour and a half, 2 hours. Because there's been a lot of good things that have come up. So just to keep the ball rolling. All right, thank you.
Thank you. I want to go back to your suggestions for a minute, and also to cross-reference it with the Blue Ribbon Economic Development Advisory Committee that existed 3 years ago. And they were slightly different businesses. So Costco, I'm sorry, we don't have a Costco. My mistake. Comcast was involved, for example. Oakwood Homes was involved, and that kind of thing. It was a slightly different group, but there was overlap. Overlap included an ambassador program. So that's come back again. And I really think because we have businesses at both ends of the spectrum, both small business and large businesses saying that they need that really seems like something that would work. The fact that people have questions and aren't able to get answers sounds like an ombudsman to me. We have somebody in that role that can maybe be there all the time to answer those questions would be really helpful. They were also, they also talked about sales and high sales and use tax and those challenges, as well as transparency. They sought more transparency as well, and also talked about crime, law enforcement, that kind of thing that they would like to see as well. So I think there's a lot of overlap, and it says that that we, as a city, still, since the time we had that report, which was 3 years ago now, maybe, and then you come forward after spending a year doing this and also have similar things that you would like to see done, is that we have some synergy here that we really need to act on so that we don't have another group coming back in 3 years asking for things that have come before us previously. So that would be really great. And I like the idea of the signage also that you brought up, Arlene. That makes such perfect sense. Sort of like driving on an interstate and it says, you know, what the exit is going to have. And it shouldn't just be builders. That doesn't make sense. You're completely right about that, especially for our streets that sit off the main drags that way, like 103rd or something. That's a great idea, Adelia. Wonderful. Really appreciated what you've done all these months, and that as a group, you feel just the real connection between all of you and what you have learned in the process, and that it has helped your businesses as well, which is exactly what all of us would hope for, that's for sure. So thank you so much, appreciate it, and it's now in your hands, but please bring it back to us. I know that even with car washes, there's a problem with some of these use taxes as well, so we really need to take a look at that. We know we're higher than any place else in the community. That makes a big difference. I know that 120th and Chambers has been trying to get a restaurant for a long time, but it is expensive, as you note, to have to build something, especially at the scale that you're going, 3,500 square feet. And earlier I had referred to 104th Potomac. I meant 104th and Blackhawk. That was where it was expensive for the gym as well. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it, everybody.
Thank you. Councilmember Douglas.
Thank you for the second opportunity. So there was a member of this task force mentioned, Michelle Claiborne, who has the Bella Yoga, and she had reached out to me a couple of times in regarding signage and really wanted to try to help her with that. This existing signage is hidden away on Highway 85, and she needed help getting that moved. Nothing came of that. Also, she had a rent increase, and she really needed help with that to stay in business. But when it came down to it, there was nothing the city could do, and that kind of thing has got to change. Otherwise, we're going to see people lose their dream and lose their livelihood, their income, and then the city loses because we lose a business. And I know we don't want to treat people as if they're special because they know somebody, but at the same time, I mean, I've heard all about these resources that are offered tonight, but I don't know what those resources are. They weren't shared with us. They said there were resources. But when we have somebody who's coming to us begging for help, we need to step up to the plate. The other is the ice cream truck that was mentioned. Those people have been trying to open in Derby for over 2 years now. They've been paying the lease amount. They've encountered so many setbacks. And I haven't talked to the real estate, whatever her position is. She's out of, I believe, Arizona. But I'm sure that's still not open. I'm sure they're still having those issues. And, you know, as one person trying to help a whole lot of people, it has been difficult to stretch myself to make sure that I'm following up on all these issues that have come before me. But when I go to the city and I say, gosh, you know, this person's been in business for a while, we've got to help them stay in business. And when I hear there's nothing we can do, that is a real problem in my eyes. So we've got to resolve that. We just have to. So with new council members coming on board, they need to be aware of things like this, and there has to be more where we're all working together to get out of our silos and not to say, oh, there's nothing we can do about it. That has to stop. Has to. Or we're going to find ourselves in the same predicament 10 years from now. We've got to solve some issues here. So, you know, I'm not trying to air our dirty laundry or anything like that, but when there's a problem, we've got to learn how to solve it. And let's grow the city in the right way, and let's give people who otherwise wouldn't have opportunities to really lay the foundation for growing this community. Thank you.
Can I just comment on the signage? It is very true. Like I mentioned earlier, a lot of people don't know what my business is about. They don't know that it's a restaurant. They don't know that it's a bakery. They don't know that we make our own tortillas here. And so it is a very important issue that we can't, I have traffic on Quebec. I think I'm in a very excellent location. It's just a problem that people don't know. People don't know what my business is about. And I mean, there's been hard times during this year when the economy is kind of a little bit shaky, and you need that attention to your business. You need, you know, people to look, and maybe somebody's wanting to buy a breakfast burrito and they don't know that we offer that. Or they want a cake and they don't know that I offer that. So yeah, that is very important, and I agree with Arlene that we do need to fix issues about signage to promote our businesses.
Gotcha, thank you. So if you had the opportunity as far as signage, what is the issue with the signage? Is it the size of the signage? Is it,
We're not allowed to do the shark,
okay,
things, or if we put a banner up, it only has to be there for a determined amount of time. Like right now, I just got approved for my liquor license, and I wanted to do a grand opening, and it's gonna be hard because people they assume that I don't sell liquor. How am I gonna, offer that? Or how am I gonna let them know that you can come and drink a margarita or a beer when you're driving home from work? So, yes,
all right, appreciate that, thank you.
thank you.
All right, Councilmember Dukes.
So you're saying you're going to have alcohol and margaritas. What was the name of the organization again?
Las Dos Americas Tortilleria.
Okay.
Across the
all right.
street.
Right across the street on Quebec. So I look
Happy
forward to-
hour.
Happy hour.
Yes.
Spencer, you mentioned something I wanted to just follow up on, if you can share more. And again, thank you. I know we all thanked you, so I want to thank you again. I know you're away from your family and time, so I want to ask questions directly to you for a second and get your feedback while you're here. One thing you mentioned is that, which I wasn't suspecting, but the mixed use, and you mentioned the radius of like 1 to 3 miles in terms of why mixed use is important. And can you, as a small business owner, can you kind of share why that's important in terms of your thoughts behind that? What came to mind?
Probably not as much as Garrett, right? Or somebody who's in the data and the research
Okay.
of what it takes to do those businesses. But the high level answer is just you want to make sure that there is enough business for your business to stay afloat. You've got to have either enough foot traffic or traffic patterns in cars, things like that, to actually support the business. And I think, I was just kind of pulling those numbers from memory, but I thought that there was, for small businesses to be successful, they've got to have, depending on that type of business, certain density levels of that walkable and drivable traffic in the area to be a viable option, because most small businesses and the types of businesses that they are aren't strong enough or big enough to pull from distances and radiuses further than that to be an attraction, to be able to create the revenues that they need. And that's just, I know it's kind of a high level answer, but
No, thank you. Pass it over. So what I'm hearing is that it's important to have customers around the small business, because it's hard, especially new one or even small business and business in general, like to be able to track folks to come to your small business, is having that level of radius and people around it that's going to help. And I hear also with the presentation around the cost. And so when you think about the cost of business in general, that's probably why it's even more critical to have a customer base kind of built in the area, 1 to 3 mile radius. Does that sound right? Garrett or Spencer? Garrett, does that sound right? Or do you?
It'll depend entirely on the business.
Okay.
So yeah, there's fairly standard to be about 5 miles
Okay.
as the max range. But a bigger business can go further. A smaller business might need way closer.
Well, in this case, small businesses, 1 to 5 miles, having customer base is going to be critical, because
Yeah.
what I also heard, like the opportunity for like boutiques and mom and pop shops, is probably easier to have folks who are walking to that place, right?
Absolutely,
Versus
yeah.
needing to jump in a car. And so some level of density is important for that aspect. And I guess you mentioned the meetups. I love a good meetup. And can you share about can you share more about how that meetup took place, or what did you do with other businesses?
We started some businesses along with Isabel and other businesses. We just wanted more information. We wanted to network. We wanted to find out the resources, what was available to everybody financially, or about new businesses that were coming up, licensing, code enforcement. And we just sat like around, we would come sometimes to Isabel's restaurant, or sometimes to my restaurant, or to maybe the resource center.
Okay.
And we would bring on, sometimes we had several guests, right? For financial purposes. And whatever sometimes we would talk about in our meetings with the task force, we would share that along in those meetups. And that was very valuable information that was being shared to them that they weren't aware of, the resources, the funding, all that. We
Okay.
brought it into them.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. And just one final question.
Yes.
You mentioned you've been you've been in business for 25 years, and I know it's been part of the family for, what, is it 25 as well, the whole 20?
Yes, as well, yes.
And you mentioned that even in this experience, you learn new opportunities and new relationships. And so I'm curious around, as you talk with people who've had businesses, and especially in the South, is this something that you see as another bigger opportunity? I mean, I heard about the signage, but also like the networking piece. Is there a language barrier? Is like folks feeling more comfortable you took a risk out of your business to say, we're going to invest time to do this. Like, how do we replicate this experience for other people that are having businesses in the South specifically?
So I think it's more being, we need to educate.
Okay.
Education and sharing. As a matter of fact, this morning, I just had a gal. She does the most incredible cakes, but she works from her home. And she, right now, she's getting to know, and she has she rents out or leases out a small space in a bakery. So she is looking to open a place here in Commerce City where she can have her bakery with her line of cakes. And I talked to her about all the information, the funding, the task force, and what we are trying to do for other businesses to be successful and thrive here in Commerce City. And right now, because it's a little bit hard for her because she's only going to be starting and she doesn't know very much, and I kind of shared a little bit, but I offered her to collaborate, and we're going to collaborate together, and I'm going to be helping her with our bakery, and she's going to come and bake there, and we're going to offer her products in collaboration with Las Dos Americas.
Okay.
So she gets a head start. In 2 years, she can be ready, and she can open here in Commerce City.
Okay, and thank you for sharing that. And I guess I love the answer, educate.
Yes.
And I'm just curious from your perspective, again, you were able to take time to go educate, right, and go learn, and then you're reaching out.
Yes.
And I know some small businesses, it's a challenge to step away from their business to even engage. Did you guys talk about that aspect of it? Like, how do you educate beyond like an incubator program like this, or beyond just, Facebook posts? Like, you guys talk about how do you track?
We did
folks?
talk about maybe even having several, of us all sharing a few businesses, like maybe
okay.
I take 3 businesses and visit those businesses, and maybe Isabel go in and share with the other 3 businesses and kind of keep on track with them. And
Okay.
maybe if they're up to more to the north, maybe do that. But it's that ambassador or that outreach
Okay.
to them that is going to help address issues. And I think it's going to create that, partnership
Yeah.
with every other business. So we just talked about, I love helping. I think all of us, that's why we got along really good.
Yeah.
Because we all poured out all our thoughts and our passions. And we all, I think, agreed that that would be something that we would really enjoy to help, because maybe we went through our own hard times and obstacles
Yeah.
that we would like everybody else to avoid. I was going to build about 2017 and a new completely building here for Las Dos Americas. And unfortunately, it took a process, 3 years of getting permits through the Commerce City. And finally, when I got everything, 3 years later, COVID hit.
Oh, yeah.
And then when we were done with COVID, the prices just skyrocketed. So what I had as a loan already and approved was not enough anymore to build. So I had to stay with my original building, but this was going to be a beautiful building, 2-level, 2-story, and I was gonna have 2 other spaces I was gonna be able to lease out to other businesses. So it is, we don't want those same obstacles to be in the way of other business owners that are.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Kim.
Yeah, thank you. Just very brief and short. I guess what I'm hearing from this is sounds like to me that I'm hoping other developers are listening in as well, that we get a lot more mixed use, because it sounds like to me, based on the task force, also that mixed use would be ideal to have. I do recall there was one or two in the past where there was supposed to be potential retail at the bottom, and of course apartments or whatever it was up top, to help support some of those small businesses and all that. The one name I will throw out there, and I know Mr. Anderson has this as far as, with regards to commercial areas that are building commercial, as what Councilmember Ford had said earlier, is to Daniel Frank near Settlers Crossing. I do know that he's trying to, looking at building out more of the commercial space on top of the residential that's in the back. Maybe that might be a good start or good headway, as I think he's trying to do something within the next 2 years or so. But I will say, and not to brag or anything, but when I go at Las Dos Americas, they have some awesome tortillas, especially when they come out of the oven, right? When they're hot and fresh. So I encourage people to go check that out. At Marisco Sinaloa, they have a sushi. I can't remember the name of the sushi and all, but man, I'll tell you what, that was some amazing sushi. So please go visit those places all together, to just go check it out. And maybe after my time on council, after 2 years, maybe if Taco Sushi doesn't ever open up because it's already past its permits, maybe I'll throw in my Korean restaurant in there. So I'll be working with the city here 3 years from now, I guess. So at some point, but that's all I got. Thank you all.
Thank you. Councilmember Ford.
Thank you. Just a follow-up. He mentioned Daniel Frank. I know Devendra Sandhu has got the gas station at 96th and Tower Road. I know he has a lot of pads available. I think, he's always, and he's struggling. It's his first development. He's trying to work his way through it. He's had his ups and downs, but there could be some space there for some inline. I know he has hotel plans and things like that, but would really have some good visibility. But when it comes to the decisions, this body, the city council, is who determines what the sign code is, and we approve it. We went through a period of time in Commerce City where everybody that had anything had signs all over in our medians and on the sides of the roads, and then all of a sudden we got to do away with signs. And so it was a knee-jerk reaction. Too many signs, we're gonna clean up everything, no signs. And there is a balance. And maybe it's time that we relook at some of our sign code and what is tolerable and allowable to make sure people can identify what their business is and help create the customer base they need. We need to be proactive and help the small businesses. But we also are the body that sets the fees. And so the fees are set by this body. And I think I won't be here, but the next council, and there are some of the council that's here now that will still be here, I think that they need to take a serious look at the fees and make sure that we're competitive with other cities and bring those fees down. So I'm not going to lay it on our staff that it's a staff problem, but we're the ones who approve that sign code, and we're the ones who set those fees. And I think that it's time that the new council really talk about reducing those fees, being more competitive, and looking at that sign code and loosening it up, at least for opportunity, so many days a month or something that you can have some signage up, whether it's shark fins or banners or what else. But I think we need to think outside the box. I drove through Milliken the other day, over the weekend, and those businesses all had signage that, because otherwise, if you don't have signage, people just drive by until they get to until they find a sign. So It's really important. I was looking for a barber shop on Saturday, and my wife's looking it up on her phone while we're driving, and you know, I drive out by Broomfield, and here's this barber. We pull in, and they're like, no, you got to have a appointment 2 weeks in advance. We need that here. We need you to be able to have tortilla sales already sold for the day. You're going to have to put in your order for next week because these are all sold. That's what we want. So I really hope that the new council looks at fees and looks at the sign regulations and tries to come to a happy medium where we can have a little of both, help you guys do better in your businesses and encourage more small businesses. So that's all I've got.
Thank you. Oh, again, I want to appreciate everybody coming in and also telling us about your experience, because it is hard. I was at a site selector evening dinner with some of the council members and some of the staff, and South Carolina, Texas, and another state. But Texas, they were harping on that their processing to open a business is 30 days. That's not a year, not 6 months, not a year, not 2 years, 30 days. That's what the process was, from start to finish. And I know we have a lot of work to go. I was going to ask Garrett, the sushi, I know I was contacted by the owner, or did they go through the process to get their certification open? Do you know?
The last update I had was that they're waiting on their state liquor license.
Okay, appreciate that, because I know that was also, that was a couple months ago, their liquor license is being held up, so thank you for that update. And Arlene, I was going to ask you real quick, being where you're at, do you have any Metro District fees on that property?
Did I have what?
Metro District fees?
I don't remember,
You would-
honestly. I had
you
so
would
many
know if you did,
fees. I mean,
Well, I'm sorry, not a fee, but a tax. Are you
oh, a
taxed
tax on a
on
metro?
a mill levy for your
I believe, yeah, I
location?
believe so. Yeah.
Okay.
I've just, there were so many fees involved.
All right.
You know, like like I said, I was going in it blind. I had a builder, but he literally was also, kind of perplexed by the process, in Commerce City. So, we were just getting surprised.
All right.
That's what I can tell you.
I appreciate every business owner in the process you went through, and what we can do on our side to streamline, to make sure when there's an opportunity that you know the ins and out. Because the Northern Range, just the Northern Range of Commerce City has 55,000 plus people, 10,000 more than Brighton does. But it's a different setup. So, and, there's also Target centers along 104th, which you want to be in because that's where all the traffic is. The further east you go towards E470, not so many business. You have a lot of traffic, but not as many residents as you keep going east. So, again, I appreciate everybody's effort in timing. I'm coming here because we started at 6 and 7:47? So, Councilmember Teeter.
Yeah, my question's for Garrett. Would it be possible to set up, with all the AI techniques that we have today, to set up a website, which you already have, with common questions on it? Like, where do I get a permit at? Where do I get a water permit at? What permits do I need to build this business? And have the answers on the same page and
Yeah, that's a good opportunity to plug our Elevate Commerce website. That's just this spring, we added a new feature on there, which is how to start a business. And it walks people through exactly all that, step by step, exactly who you're contacting, exactly what the expectations are. Always areas to improve on that. So after this conversation tonight, we'll take another look at that and see if there's areas that we can help make things even more clear. But yeah, Elevate Commerce is our website for exactly that kind of information.
all right. It's like, signs like, how big of a sign can I put up? Can I put a sign of a baker out front? Baking a cake, so when people drive by, they know what it is, just by the picture, but that would be nice. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, this time folks for the task force come up front here. We'll take a picture with the city council and economic development. Please join us as well.
Do you want to get in there? No. Okay, good. Thank you.
It was perfect timing. I want to tell me, time to stay.
Garrett. Garrett Anderson just informed me about Small Business Friday, Small Business Saturday, and that next week we're going to, is it a proclamation or is it, okay, do proclamation for Small Business Saturday for Commerce City? And so by taking a picture today, we're going to use that photo for Small Business Saturday, okay? All right, thank you. Okay, at this time, at 7:50, we'll take a break for 10 minutes. Thank you. All right, it's 8 o'clock. Up next, third quarter 2025 financial report. I'll invite Teresa Wilson, Finance Director, forward presentation.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members. We're here tonight to present the third quarter financial report for 2025. I'm Teresa Wilson, the city's Finance Director, and with me tonight, I have our Tax Manager, Ken Keeley. Jumping into the general fund overview, I would say that revenues and expenditures are trending in the right direction, pretty much every way you look. I do want to go over some highlights. Taxes for the 25 amended budget, we're currently at 74.3% of revenues projected there to meet the budget, and that includes sales and use tax through August. As a reminder, there's a 1-month lag in collecting sales and use tax and being able to report on those taxes. Licenses and permits continue to trend well above budget, and that is because of one large permit related to a significant project that is a little bit out of the norm. On a yearly basis, that one permit was $2.5 million, so that is significantly trending above. The intergovernmental revenue includes revenues budgeted for the ARPA reappropriation as we continue to spend down ARPA revenue between now and the end of next year. Charges and services also continue to trend well above budget for similar reasons to licenses and permits. Investment earnings look rather strange. We are conservative when we project interest earnings for the city. It's really hard to predict that revenue source. And at year end, we also have a year end market adjustment where we have to do a book entry to recognize the year end value of our investment portfolio. So this is subject to change as a result of that. Miscellaneous revenue includes revenues that are budgeted from what we call Bronco funding, from the sale of the team and the Metro Football Stadium District revenue sharing, as well as donations and some other miscellaneous revenue. And that is also an odd one to predict, but no concerns to highlight there. On the expenditure side, most of our categories are trending right where you would expect them to at the 3/4 point through the year. Some highlights, I would like to highlight general administration, finance, community development. Those areas are impacted, what I would like to call the ARPA effect. We have expenditures within those areas that include the ACT and other program areas that relate to ARPA funding. So those percentages aren't quite at that 3/4 mark like we would expect. So they're slightly skewed as a result of containing those ARPA funded areas. And that ARPA effect will diminish as we continue to spend that revenue down each quarter between now and the end of next year. Debt service also looks a little bit wonky, and that is a result of when we make our debt payments, we make them in August and December. So it doesn't look like we've made all of our debt payments relating to our COP issuances, but I assure you that will look normal at year end. Are there any questions based on those general fund highlights before I move on?
Council members have questions this time? No.
Great. So continuing on through our reports, I did want to highlight that through the end of the third quarter, sales and use tax revenues have increased by 13.2% over the third quarter of 24. Without that large permit that I referenced before, that would be 9.6%. And also, just to give you guys a heads up for the fourth quarter report, we do have some agreements and incentive arrangements that result in refunds or rebates of some sales and use tax by year end. So that percentage will be impacted by that as well once those are all entered into the system. So I just want to let you know that there are changes to that to be made, as well as continuing to receive sales and use tax remittances between now and the end of the year for the fourth quarter. So there'll be a lot of little net effects of things going on there that will impact that number for year end. The bar graph shows, sorry, this mouse is a little bit weird. There we go. This bar graph is showing a 3-year historical comparison on an annual basis for 22, 3, and 4. And then the 25 bar graph continues to tick up as the quarters go by this year. So you can see kind of how we're trending. The intent of this graph is to show how we're trending in 25 year to date compared to the past 3 years. If you look at the composition of the different colors of bars on a prorated basis, they're pretty much the same. There's not any negative trends there to point out. The 2 bar graphs below on the left compare 2024 tax revenues that totaled to $116.2 million to how those are trending year to date through the end of third quarter. If you look at the third quarter representation on the right, the yellow piece of the pie is a bit skewed by that building permit for that large project that we mentioned. So that's a little bit bigger than it was for the 24 year-end representation. But otherwise, the pieces of the pie are trending largely the same as they did last year. Moving along, some sales and use tax highlights. Sales and use tax currently is 13.2% higher than third quarter for third quarter of 25 compared to that of 24. And again, that is subject to change based on those items that I mentioned. We referenced the $2.5 million use tax payment there for that large construction project, and sales tax from remote and internet sales continue to trend upwards as well. We also wanted to note that marijuana tax, which is included in the other taxes category, has decreased while retail sales tax has increased from the same period of 2024. So those are some trends that we wanted to note. This bar graph shows January through September for the first 3 quarters of each year for 22 through 25, so that you can see how sales and use tax revenue performance is comparing this year compared to previous years. And you can see that 13.2% increase there for this year. But the split of sales and use tax is largely 2/3 sales tax and 1/3 use tax. This bar graph at the bottom shows January through September only for 2022 through 25, and it's showing sales and use tax received by industry. So you can see how automotive and transportation is comparing to retail. The other category includes medical offices, agricultural, arts and entertainment, education services, and small things like that. And if you look at the retail, which is the highest set of bar graphs in there in that 4-year comparison, that includes the online and remote sales. Any questions about that information before moving on?
Council members have questions? I had a question about the marijuana. I know statewide, it has decreased by 17%.
And we are seeing similar trends here. That revenue source, I can't fully explain why. I don't know if it was, people dealing with the stress of COVID or learning how to work from home compared to their normal setting. But we saw a pretty serious spike in that revenue source during COVID, and then it dropped off again.
All right. What about marijuana facilities open across the United States? Have you guys noticed more in other
Across the
states
board,
adopting?
There's a decrease across the board. But the biggest thing is more states have
Yeah.
legalized marijuana, and so people
Right.
aren't coming here.
Sure.
to
Do
buy.
you guys track other states' progress with that type of, because it has an
Yeah,
effect on
not-
Colorado?
Yeah, I mean, I get a daily email on the marijuana industry, just kind of highlighting trends and what's going on, but I don't actively track it. But, you know, the biggest thing is other states, we were the first, and when we first legalized marijuana, obviously the revenue stream was far greater.
Okay.
And were all of you able to hear Ken okay? No? Okay. We might have you go up to the mic there. Thank you, Ken.
Oh, and then while you're walking up to the podium, also, I know before we did allow marijuana sales, recreational and medicinal marijuana, we see more recreational coming in. And do you see decline in, on the medical side?
Thank you. Yes, as soon as they legalized retail, medical marijuana dropped exponentially.
Okay, I see. All right, thank you. Appreciate that.
I didn't hear what he said prior to that.
Oh, I'm sorry, could you repeat what you said earlier when I asked about other states?
Oh, as far as other states are concerned, I do get daily emails on the marijuana industry, but I'm not actively tracking or keeping a spreadsheet of what's going on. But you can see the biggest component is just when they first legalized marijuana, we were the only state that had it, and there was an active tourism trade, which resulted in rather large spikes in tax revenue. And since that time, people don't need to travel to Denver to buy their marijuana.
All right, thank you very much.
Perfect. Any other questions at this time? Okay. Great. At the top of the next page, we provide some more information regarding sales and use tax. And this year is panning out to be a great year for those revenue sources, especially for use tax. Building use tax increased significantly in the first 3 quarters due to that one large one-time construction permit. There was also one 366-unit family project that was included in that revenue when permitted. Vehicle use tax also increased, and general use tax has also been increasing. The 2 pie charts here on the left, we're following our same format where we show how the categories broke down for 2024, and then you can see how 25 trends are comparing to that. The orange piece of the pie, you can see kind of on the graph on the right, the orange kind of in that upper right quadrant, that orange piece of the pie is construction and heavy equipment. And if you compare that to the orange piece of the pie for 24, you can see 25's piece of the pie is larger, and that is a result of that one-time permit. So you can see the impact of that. The bar graph here below that is comparing building, vehicle, and general use tax. So within our general ledger, we broke use tax out into these 3 categories to begin better tracking these 3 types of use tax so that we can better analyze the data around this. And so you can see that in this stacked bar graph where we're comparing those 3 categories. And then the line graph below that is showing the historical trend line on an annual comparison of use tax, and that's all 3 categories combined. On the expenditure side, we do provide detail around our expenditure categories there for reference. Those do not change, they're fixed. Overall, expenditures have increased 8.9 million or 9.31% from 03 to 04, and that's on an annual basis. And then year-to-date for 25, expenditures are trending to be slightly under budget, which is where we want. We do want to be within 2% of budget on an expenditure basis. If it's too much under budget, we always want to look at that to make sure we're not tying up funds unnecessarily. And we do a monthly analysis of that when we do monthly budget reports for departments. But we are looking good there on the expenditure side. This bar graph is a 3-year historical comparison of those expenditure categories compared to how 25 year-to-date is trending, so that you can see how that is shaking up. The 25 year-to-date bar graph shows the 83.5 million in total that you can find more detail on the first page that we went over. And so far that compares to a total of 110.9 that was spent in 24. But there's no alarming trends to point out there. The capital expenditure category is very small. You do see those numbers on top. And that's largely related to PRG equipment for the rec centers and golf course and restaurant. At the top of the next page, you will see our format continue with that side-by-side comparison of the 24 year-to-date on the left and the 24 year-end, representing the entire fiscal calendar year on the left, compared to how things are trending through the end of the third quarter on the right. A lot of the trends are continuing, but you can see the breakout there by category with the percentage and dollar amounts referenced. In the stacked bar chart below that, we did make one minor change to this by including the debt service category, which is in yellow. For most years, that category is rather small. This debt service category within the general fund only represents the certificates of participation payments that the general fund is responsible for repaying. This does not include our much larger debt service amounts relating to our revenue bonds that reside in a separate debt services fund. We included this category to make it easier to reconcile the totals as we're producing this report. And the reason why the amount in 24 was larger than the other years, if you recall, we did a larger transfer from the Water Rights Acquisition Fund to the general fund to pay off the 2017 BCOP issuance that was related to the purchase of city water. And we had sufficient resources to pay that off early and save on some future debt payments. There's no other trends to really point out there. General fund expenditures have increased 7.3% or 9.7% in the third quarter compared to the third quarter of 24. Those increases are driven by personnel increases, purchase services and charges, a lot of which are related to increased allocations for our internal service funds and ARPA expenditures, as well as insurance claim and deductible amounts that increased for property casualty. And that is the end of the general fund part of the report. Are there any questions about that before moving on to the capital expenditures fund?
I'd say none.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to the capital expenditures fund. This follows a similar format as the first page for the general fund, so you can see how revenues and expenditures are trending overall. We do have some helpful notes at the bottom. The intergovernmental revenue category includes federal and state grants, as well as county shared revenues and state shared revenues, such as the open space sales tax and the cigarette tax revenue that we get from the county and state respectively. Within the capital expenditures fund, these revenues aren't received monthly. It's really harder to follow trends. Things come at different months and different times of the year, and we of course record and report on those as they occur. But this fund looks very different than what you would expect to see in the general fund. And that's not necessarily bad or alarming or anything like that. It really is what it is based on what happens by this point in the year. Things do change mid-year in May which you saw in the second quarter report when we do the capital carryover. Capital funds do not lapse at year end like they do at the general fund. They do carry over administratively so that those capital projects can continue from one end of the year to the beginning of the next year. So you can see all of that there. At the top of the next page, we follow that same format, showing the two side-by-side pie charts, showing the 24 year end on the left compared to 25 year to date through third quarter on the right. So you can see how trends this year might be comparing to that experience last year. We're showing capital projects by department in these views. And then the stacked bar chart below that shows historical third quarter of this year compared to the last 3 years. The big thing to point out for 25 is we really have had an uptick in capital project expenditures. Capital projects this year, there's some large ones that have just gotten a lot of traction, and we have been experiencing an expenditure increase related to those projects. And the bullet points below this, we always work with Public Works to get some project highlights each quarter to share with you. And you can see that we've included some for 96th Avenue widening, 88th widening, the City Safety Action Plan and Transportation Master Plan. So there's some good project update notes for you there that we include here. And then the final page, we really just include some links to where you can find additional information to things that are saved on the website. And that is the end of the third quarter financial report. We welcome any additional questions you may have.
Sure. Thank you. Any council members have questions? Mayor Pro Tem Noble.
Thank you very much. That's a very thorough report. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
I also am thinking that how do we right size in a way that takes into account the issues that small businesses have starting up in Commerce City? If our use tax is too high, our sales tax is too high, yet we're relying on that revenue for certain expenditures, then that indicates we need to reevaluate our expenditures because we're not creating a quality community for a lifetime that people are seeking because we're not able to compete with other cities. We have to be able to differentiate ourselves from other cities. We have to make ourselves attractive to come here so that they won't say, well, it's better in Brighton or it's better in the Green Valley Ranch or it's better in Thornton because of our costs, the fact that our water district is separate, which is a challenge, et cetera. So I would hope that over the next year, we can be having those conversations as well about where do we need to take a little Wegovy and figure out how to be healthier.
Absolutely. And, I sat through the last presentation and, heard some things I had heard before and also learned a lot of new things. It was a very interesting discussion. And I think this is always going to be a difficult area to tackle 100% all the time. Two of the big things I really heard were that communication and location were issues, and those don't necessarily have to do directly with anything we have in the budget, but there's certainly things that we can do to help impact those areas. So it's definitely a very meaty area that has a lot of different things to focus on, and that can be hard because there's so much to focus on. It's almost like where do you begin? But I know it's from talking with the city manager and other leaders within the organization. I know this gets a lot of airtime because it's a very important topic, but it's definitely a challenging one.
Thank you very much.
Councilmember Teeter.
Yeah, who do we collect highway user tax from?
We don't collect it. We do get it from the state, and it's based on a two-tiered formula. So it is awarded by the state to cities and counties, and there's a formula that the state follows to determine what entities get which amount, but it is funding received directly from the state.
So is that people buying equipment or trucks in our city, or?
It's largely related to fuel purchases across the state that go to the
So the
state
more,
first.
the more truck
Gasoline
stops we had,
taxes.
the more highway users tax we would collect?
Based on the formula, yes.
It's based on, yeah, based on a formula related to fuel taxes that the state disperses to local governments.
Thank you.
So
All right. Appreciate your
Great.
your presentation. I know at the end here, on the two, the popular annual finance report and the annual compensation comprehensive financial report, when is the 2025, when are those going to come out?
you should, I'm hoping that you received the 20, are you talking 24 or 25?
25.
25. So we are at the end of the preliminary audit for 25. The actual audit for 25 does not occur until next April.
Okay.
So it's confusing, right? Because it'll be mid 26 by the time that's complete, but that just speaks to the amount of work involved in preparing the financial statements and undergoing the audit. But we're in constant communication pretty much on and off throughout the year with our external auditors, and the bulk of that work will be occurring between now and the end of next April. And the actual ACFR for 25 will be delivered to you all in June of next year.
Okay, all right, appreciate that. And then I know we talked about incentives and all that, and the taxes that our businesses pay. And then for businesses that want to retain in Commerce City and they get an incentive, I know from what I'm hearing, the business side world is they have to pay the amount and then they get credited back. Is there could be a process we could look at where they do the audit and then they pay what's due instead of?
Yeah, this is actually a topic that we discuss internally on and off as questions arise, but the basic answer is under our current tax code, the taxes are required to first be paid in order to be rebated under any incentive. And that's to provide, that's to make sure we are following our own tax code, and it's also to make sure we're promoting fair and equitable treatment amongst all taxpayers.
All right.
So there are reasons for that, but it does seem kind of confusing and why would we do that? But largely it's to make sure we're following our tax code and being fair and equitable.
Okay, with that, I think we just had the Small Business Development Task Force here, as you know. And when it comes to sales tax, and if someone wants to expand, I think we have to educate our businesses are here how that process works, because a lot of them, they want to stay here, but then when they find out the process after the incentive process, I hear it. They give me phone calls. I see the emails, and so if we could look at changing that process to help out, I think we would have maybe a little more uptick.
Sure.
'Cause when we have when a business has that type of experience, the word gets around.
Absolutely. And I do want to make you all aware, and this is something that we focused on as we hire new staff when we experience turnover. But if you ever are working with members of the community that are Spanish speaking and need some tax education or help in that area, please get in touch with me and Ken. We have 2 staff members in our tax team that are bilingual, and that has really helped us kind of break down some communication barriers as we're working with taxpayers. But we have 2 bilingual staff members, and that's been an important change for us in making sure we have an increased ability to serve that Spanish-speaking portion of our tax-paying community as well.
Okay. And I'm sorry, I did not hear the gentleman's name to you and what his title is.
Ken?
Yeah.
Ken Keeley is our tax manager.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
You've been here for a while, Ken?
About 8 years.
8 years? Okay.
Yep.
Well, it's good to see you to come out of out of the office, your cubicle, and come and visit with us.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Perfect.
Any other questions? All right, thank you very
Great.
much.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
All right. HB 25-1295, food truck bill code update. I'll invite Dylan Gibson, Assistant City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, members of City Council, members of the public. My name is Dylan Gibson. I am the Assistant City Manager for the City of Commerce City. I am filling in tonight for Brittany Rodriguez, the Senior Assistant City Clerk, because she is under the weather tonight. I know she's watching, so Brittany, I hope you're feeling better. So I'm here to update City Council on the City Clerk's proposal, or requirement rather, to update our outdoor vendor licensing code. This comes on the heel of the passage of House Bill 25-1295, commonly known as the Food Truck Bill, that was introduced at the last legislative session. So tonight, I'm going to quickly provide a background on the food truck code in Commerce City, as well as the provisions that were contained within House Bill 25-1295. Proposed changes that staff is requesting council to consider while we're digging under the hood of our outdoor vendor code, if we can make some proposed changes that staff has heard from both the business community as well as from other stakeholders in the review process, discuss the next steps for City Council, and then open it up for discussion. So for background, our food trucks and other mobile food vendors, basically any vendor that isn't in a fixed structure in Commerce City, is regulated under our outdoor vendor code, and that can be found in section 9-3300 in the Commerce City Revised Municipal Code. The last time that code was updated was in 2017, so it's been a couple years since we've had a look at that section of our code. There are very sparse code requirements that leads to confusion both from applicants trying to get a food truck license or an outdoor vendor truck license, as well as new staff that comes in, and especially for our code enforcement team, in terms of what are they looking for, what are we requiring of them, and what would we like to see from our applicants for outdoor vendor licenses. We have different types of outdoor vendors. Like I said, we've got food trucks, we've got mobile vendors, we've got tables at, the mini Comic-Cons up at Bison Ridge. We've got food vendors that sell at tables on the side of the road. Various different types of vendors have different requirements of what we want to see from them, but those aren't explicitly enumerated in our code currently. We also have distance requirements that are incompatible with organized events and city-hosted events that occur near either existing food establishments, schools, and residences. And we'd like to take an opportunity to address some of the feedback that we've heard from neighborhood organizations, city staff, and other residences that would like to have food trucks and other types of outdoor vendors closer to their homes, schools, and other food businesses during those specific event times, as well as address the purpose of an outdoor vendor or food truck license is for them to be mobile throughout the city. Our current code requires one license per location, which again, if you're a food truck wanting to sell at multiple locations throughout the city, that requires a separate license for each location, which means a separate fee, separate review process, and we'd like to simplify that both for staff and our business community. So again, House Bill 25-1295 was introduced by Representative Manny Rutinal during the 2025 session. The City Council, Commerce City's City Legislative Committee took an opposed position during that legislative session on that bill. The bill was amended a few times to remove distancing provisions and other things that CML and other cities gave feedback on during the debate and amendment provisions of that bill. The main goal of the bill was to provide for transferability of safety permits from one municipality to another to make it easier for food trucks to get their license in one city and then go across city boundaries to get their license in another city. Ultimately, after that policymaking process, the bill was signed by Governor Polis on May 20th, 2025, and that bill now is going to be effective starting on January 1, 2026. So we know that we're going to have to amend the Commerce City Revised Municipal Code to make those amendments in order to comply with that state bill. And again, like I said earlier, we'd like to take that opportunity to address the current code shortcomings while we're opening up that amendment process. So some of the proposed code updates that the city clerk's office is requesting. One, we're going to add more definitions to that code so it's clear when we talk about what an outdoor vendor is versus a mobile food truck, what prepared food means, what a commissary kitchen means, what a mobile vendor is, a stakeholder in that review process, et cetera. We want to make sure when a license application is coming in that the vendor or the applicant knows what is required of them, and we're using a common language and a common set of definitions. Already existing within there is excluding the flea market, door-to-door sales, yard sales, and garage sales. And then we're outlining all the document requirements based on, again, that vendor type, an outdoor vendor versus a mobile food truck, and then making the necessary requirements to be compliant with House Bill 25-1295 to accept safety permits from other jurisdictions. Another proposed change that the clerk's office would like to submit is requiring the submission at least 14 calendar days before an event, before they start operating. So if they have an event on Saturday, they can't just apply on a Friday and expect us to review and get that license back to them, right? If an applicant can get us an application, a complete application with the fees and all necessary documents within 14 days, staff can review and approve that application within 14 days and make sure that they're licensed and able to operate at that event. We no longer, or the city clerk's office is proposing no longer requiring a license for each location, instead establishing that that license is good for all locations within the city, again, to promote that mobility of those food trucks. One thing that the city clerk's office has seen, if you drive down Central Park Boulevard during lunch hour, that high school over here has, on certain days, food trucks outside of there. Currently, our municipal code requires a 300-foot setback during school hours from schools. So in order to encourage that variety and those options for students at the schools throughout the city, we would propose, staff is proposing removing that 300-foot setback. And then during times where there is a organized event or city event, temporarily removing the setbacks from residences and other prepared food establishments. That would allow, again, mobile food trucks and other food vendors to sell and provide services at neighborhood events, city events, community events. There is a future ordinance on updating the organized event process coming from the policy analyst team that will be coming to council in the future as well. So next steps, city clerk's office is requesting council consider their proposed changes. They would like to know, does council agree with staff's proposed changes? If so, they'll have an ordinance on first reading at a future meeting, probably December 1st, to include all of staff's proposed changes as well as the House Bill 25-1295 changes on first reading. If council doesn't agree with staff's proposed changes or some of their proposed changes, then we'll just schedule an ordinance on first reading addressing only House Bill 25-1295 and any other singular suggestions that council would like to see. Once that ordinance is approved on second and final reading, the city clerk's office will work with community relations, economic development, and all the other stakeholders to update the website, licensing materials, and working to do outreach with existing outdoor vendors on the new requirements. Those are one-year licenses, so preparing them for what to expect whenever they come back and renew their license next year. And then they'll monitor licensee sentiment and recommend any additional code or process changes where appropriate based on the feedback from that new code for city council. So with that, I'm happy to take any notes, bring that back to the city clerk's office whenever staff returns and get that ordinance on track. So with that, I'm happy to take any questions that city council may have.
Okay, Councilmember Teeter.
Yeah, I have some concerns about the temporary removes setbacks for residential areas. In the event, let's say we're having food trucks at the park and the guy in charge decides to park them over in front of the residents' houses, and one of the residents has emphysema and can't take the smoke from there. I think we can't be taking away the residents' right to say, hey, get that truck out of here.
Sure. Thank you, Councilmember Teeter. So the change wouldn't allow a food truck to park anywhere within that organized event or that city event, a food truck has to be, so as part of the application process, the city clerk's office requires a, basically a drawing or a map of where everything's going to be laid out during that organized event or that city event. And then code enforcement makes sure that, again, it adheres to those setback requirements if they exist, or that we have a layout of that organized event. So if a food truck is supposed to be in a certain area of that organized event and they go park somewhere else, they're not in compliance. So they would be in violation of that proposed setback then. So we want to make sure that, or I guess the intent of the city clerk's office's proposed change is that it gives those food trucks and those community members or those neighborhoods organizing those events the ability to have those food trucks there during that. Again, if it's a neighborhood event from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m., those food trucks can only be within those setbacks from that 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. within where they're designated to be based on the diagram that they provide as part of the application process. Does that help answer your
Yes.
question, or?
Yeah, what about, we're not allowing them on the flea market? Is that because the flea market doesn't want them? Because they want to sell their own hot dogs and hamburgers?
No. So the flea market can still have those types of vendors. I'm saying that currently under our code, we don't require a separate license or an outdoor license application for each individual vendor within the flea market. We have an agreement with the flea market. Well, they'll collect and remit all sales tax from all of those vendors and then remit that to the city based on all of those vendors' collection during that time. Because those vendors cycle in and out, it would be a full-time job just keeping track of all of the license applications for each individual vendor. So the flea market's excluded because we have that agreement.
Okay, thanks.
Councilmember Ford.
I'm okay with the approach that city staff has come up with. I do care that we treat this situation fair and equitable across the board. We have people selling mangoes off of like 65th and Holly all summer long. We have trucks that are along Tower Road and along 120th, whether they're selling piñones or tacos or whatever. You just heard me earlier say that I like to frequent that ice cream truck that sits at the auto parts store. I just don't want there to be some who comply and others who just do what they want and don't have to comply. If we're going to have a process for compliance and these people can come in and get their licenses and they can operate legally, then I think we have to make sure that we're cracking down on those who are doing it illegally. And if that's, let them know how to do it legally and come in and apply, fine. But it's unfair to the ones that are coming in and getting their license and doing it the right way. And then drive down Rosemary on a Saturday and see 10 of them stacked up at the old Gala Gardens, and then people selling chips and dogs and stuff along 88th Avenue. That's not okay. If we're going to have a process, we have to enforce that process so that everybody's treated fairly. I don't think it's right. Someone spends the money to do it the right way and invests the time and shows up, and there's some guy selling piñones where he has came in and done it the right way, and now he can't operate, or he's competing with somebody who did not have to obtain a license and meet the requirements. So I'm good with the staff process, what you've laid out. I just want to make sure that it's enforced, that all the food vendors need to operate under the law that the city has put forward.
Thank you, Councilmember Ford. And Mr. Rogers, I believe, isn't code enforcement transitioning to a weekend rotation to help address some of those off-hour situations?
Yes, they started that transition to working on that matter plus others just this past weekend as a more full-time schedule. So we'll probably see some stronger enforcement going forward. When we did that spot enforcement over a handful of Saturdays, the culture or the behavior shifted dramatically. So we will continue with that effort.
Councilmember Dukes.
Thank you. I just echo, I agree with Councilmember Ford in terms of enforcement. And I know the legislative committee opposed this, and also I think the CML opposed this as well, right?
Correct.
Is that correct? And the rationale opposed the House Bill 1295 because it really overstepped, in their opinion, a home rule. Is that correct?
That's my understanding. Is that your understanding, City Attorney?
That is spot on, yes.
And so I just, I appreciate the staff and the team looking at how to make this an opportunity so that we can tailor it towards our city. But it is a challenge and frustration because this is a one-size-fit-all that went through. We were without cooperation or conversation with cities. Knowing that as a city like Commerce City, we do deal with RVs, we deal with food trucks that are not going through the proper process and channel that creates not only health hazards, but also safety hazards because some of these areas are blind spots for folks to drive and safety in traffic is a concern. So with that aside, the frustration aside that this is really pushed down on our cities, I'm okay with what the staff has proposed to tailor this piece of legislation to fit what we can fit within the norms that we have. I do have a question with the setback for the school hours. So 300 feet during school hours, I guess my concern is around the traffic around schools and having more, or removing the setback. Can you tell me the rationale? How did you come to this decision as a team, as a staff?
Yeah, so when the city clerk's office had that conversation, we were discussing it back whenever I was city clerk before my transition. It was literally, we drove on Central Park Boulevard, saw food trucks at Northfield High School over here, came back and we're like, we never really see anything over at, Adams 14 up the road. Look into our code and, there's a 300-foot setback. So is this a way to maybe spur that, again, that connection? And again, if council doesn't agree with that proposal, we're happy to take that out before we bring that ordinance to you all on first reading in December. But again, that's just something that our neighbor across the street allows it. Is that something that we want to look at doing too?
So what I'm hearing, you saw Northfield High School have the opportunity to have food trucks for the youth during the lunchtime hour.
Correct.
And so this created an opportunity for them to have different variety of food that we don't currently do. Is that
right?
Okay. Yeah, I'm okay with that. I think if anything becomes an issue, we'll have to revisit that. But what you described that makes sense.
Right.
Especially for Adams City, but I don't know what is Brighton doing for like Prairie View. Do you know?
That I'm not sure, but I could definitely include that information in the council communication when we bring that back on.
Yeah, I'll be curious because one of the challenges with Prairie View is I see our Commerce City students, when they go there, they're going to 7-Eleven.
Right.
And there's not a lot of options for food and vendors there. So I would love to see if that's something that we can, I know they have their own process, but I'll be curious to learn more about that process. But generally speaking, the effort you put in, the conversation to tailor this, my biggest challenge and frustration is about how this process came about for us as a city without our voice at the table.
Thank you, Councilmember Dukes.
Councilmember Kim?
Yeah, speaking of what Councilmember Dukes relate to, I believe this was the original bill that came up because there was an issue with Denver, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's my understanding, yes.
Okay, and it seems like right now they've already gone through a lot of the changes and reiteration, actually talking to cities as well. Is that right or no?
If I remember about 6-7 months ago when this discussion was happening, I believe the original bill that Representative Rutenall put in, he also wanted to preempt setback requirements and some other provisions within that food truck bill, and those were removed during the committee debates and votes before it got to its final approval state for the governor. Is that correct? Or is that how you remember?
I believe that's correct. That's my recollection, and we were briefed on that by our lobbyists during that time.
Okay, all right, thank you for that refresher. Yeah, I'm okay with what staff has provided. I do have one question, very layman's terms question here, Dylan, is that assuming, let's say, if someone is hosting an event, food truck ends up breaking down, they obviously already have the permit. It doesn't apply to the vehicle itself. It applies to what the what the business is, correct?
Can you
So
expand on that?
Yeah, for sure. So for example, right, you know, if a person gets a permit already within that 14 days or
Mhm.
you know 14 days or so, and they already have the permit, but let's say hypothetically their vehicle breaks down, so in order to get another vehicle in to replace that, this
Oh,
doesn't
yeah,
apply.
yeah, yeah. I see what you're saying, Councilmember Kim. So you're wondering if they're subbing in and out vehicles?
Yes.
Yeah, so as part of the current requirements of documents, we ask for that specific vehicle's state registration, copy of their state registration, the vehicle registration. So we would know which vehicle it is. If that's not the registration that they provide, we would want them to provide us with the multiple. Again, we want to promote those food trucks to get out into the community and have that mobility. But if it's multiple operations, they would need multiple licenses rather than a one-time subbing in. Does that help address your question?
Yeah, so if a vehicle breaks down essentially and they already have their permit for that one and then they have to get another permit, which if it's within that 14 days, then they won't be able to partake in that event is what it sounds like.
Or they can always send the clerk's office their updated, whatever that other vehicle's registration is, for them to have on file.
Okay.
Because where they're operating at, the permit, they also need permission of the property owner, the event organizer, and a few other documents. So if all of those remain the same and they're just swapping out which vehicle VIN number that they're bringing, then they could give the city clerk's office a heads up on that. And I'm sure they'd be willing to be at least flexible or work through that review process with code enforcement, all the other stakeholders.
Yeah, we definitely would want to make sure there's some kind of flexibility to this, but obviously at the same time, what Councilmember Ford said, enforcement across the board as well.
Right.
All right, cool. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Kim.
Mayor Pro Tem Noble?
Thank you, Mayor Douglas. Is there, given that I don't have a lot of experience of late with schools, I would really like to know what Adams 14 and 27J have to say about a setback from their schools. I don't know why it exists currently, and I don't know what it means if there is no setback. Would it be possible that we could get some feedback from them and make it part of the presentation when we consider the ordinance?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. We definitely can reach out and get their feedback on that. The removal of the setback would just give them the option to have those food trucks near their schools, but we can definitely see if that's something that they want to take advantage of or if they have a strong opinion either way on that.
Yeah.
We'll definitely have that for
I
you.
would like to know if they approve or don't.
Yep, that's a
you.
great question. Thank you.
All right. Councilmember T, did you have something else?
Yeah, I also would be in favor of doing away with the setback as long as the school agreed to go along with it. You know, they should have an option not to have them on their property if they don't want them.
Sure. Great. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Yes, I agree as well with the schools because I know with the kids that are going to school, they have contracts with Pizza Hut. They have a lot of companies that they work with, and based on projections of kids coming to eat, they provide a certain amount of food.
Right.
So I would definitely check with 27J and Adams 14 because for one thing, I wouldn't want to have any food trucks out there, regardless if they're funded or not, but someone gets sick.
Sure.
So, you know, there's a lot of things that comes when you're food preparer. You gotta have gloves, you gotta have a hairnet. And, you know, when we have our food trucks out here, I don't see that.
Yeah.
Some have gloves, a few of them have hairnets, but not all of them. So if we're going to allow food trucks and monitor them, we need to make sure that health code, that they're in compliance as well.
Right.
And that they're also their vehicles, when it comes to their stoves or any equipment, that they are adequate. They're working as designed. So I'll also really push that state of Colorado has a new program for idling. So you don't have that from the trucks running and diesel smell, right? So
Right.
they do have programs where they can cycle out, either it's a different processor with the generators, that they don't build up that carbon. So I think that should be part of this process as well, because I did not see that in this, and, you know, this doesn't have everything in it. You're putting this forward, but if you could see what those guidelines are, that would be very helpful.
Sure, yeah. Thank you, Mayor Douglas. So to touch on a couple things, right, with the school setback, just to be clear, this is just removing the setback. If you want to have a food truck on school property, part of the requirement is to have written permission of that property owner. So somebody can't just drive a food truck onto school property without having that permission from the district itself. In terms of the inspection, right, so from the city, because we don't have a health department, we don't have a fire department, what we require is the fire permit and the health permit and the food safety permit, right? So we're just checking to see if they have those documents. We're not the actual health department or fire department to do those inspections. So that's part of the application process.
Gotcha.
They provide those documents to us in advance.
Okay, and then when it says locations, is that so that you don't have to get a license in Longmont or?
So that's so they don't have to get a separate location. So let's say they want to sell at 60th and Quebec and then go up to
Within the city.
104th. Right.
Gotcha.
It's one license for the entire city.
Okay, so they still have to have a license to operate in Commerce City.
Correct. Yes. Every person making a sale has to have some sort of license within Commerce City.
So I think for the food bill, when it first came, it was a state license, and you can operate anywhere you want.
Correct. Yeah. And then now that changed to the safety permit. So again, we have to, under the state law, we have to accept other jurisdictions' health department permits, and we have to accept other jurisdictions' fire permits. So that's Denver, that could be CDPHE, that could be, you know, the Jefferson County Fire Department. Any fire permit, basically, and any health safety permit has to be accepted in any municipality in Colorado for a food truck now.
All right, thank you very much.
No problem. Thank you.
Councilmember Ford.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on the school situation. I have never seen a food truck at Adams 14. However, my grandson was playing football and was in a championship game over at Prairie View this year. And I was shocked to see Kona Ice had a food truck there. Every single person there bought something from that food truck. I was surprised because most of the times these schools have clubs that make money for their club by selling concessions. And I don't know if 27J allows it during school hours or at lunchtime, but during that game, instead of having a club selling concessions, they had a food truck selling concessions, which really shocked me. Not only did they allow them on the property, they took them in the back and put them next to the stadium where people didn't have to go in or out. And they also had it at the middle school when his football team played the middle school. They had a concession truck. And it really shocks me because when I was in school, that's what how the clubs operated. They made money selling concessions. They went to the store and bought Doritos, then marked them up 3 times the cost, and everybody that was your only option, right? So I don't know what's in it for these clubs or if these food trucks are offering to donate X amount of percent to the clubs at the schools. But I agree with the others. I think you need to talk to the districts and see where they stand. But I was surprised. 27J did have food trucks at their games. That's all.
Thank you.
Any other council members? All right, appreciate that, Dylan.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Councilmember Douglas.
Oh, thank you for recognizing me. So does the city make any money off of these food trucks? I mean, is there tax?
Food trucks have to remit sales tax just like any other business making a sale, and then we also collect a small licensing fee for the cost of processing the license. But that's essentially it. We don't have a revenue agreement or anything like that.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thanks again, Dylan. Appreciate it.
Thank you all.
Okay, on to reports. City Manager Rogers.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll take us through my report and then want to talk about the work schedule upcoming for the next couple of Mondays. First and foremost, under my report, The city's community well-being team has launched a new landlord incentive program to help connect residents in need of housing with local property owners who have available rental units. This program is part of the city's ongoing efforts to support community members facing housing challenges while helping property owners fill vacancies quickly and confidently. Under economic development, we've launched the 2025 business survey. This business survey can help shape the future of Commerce City's business community by sharing their thoughts on what local businesses need and challenges they face. I think you've gotten obviously somewhat of a taste of that from the Small Business Task Force with respect to engagement and understanding broader issues, concerns, and where we can help with some forward-thinking solutions. This is an opportunity to be able to get additional feedback on their experiences with those city services and input that will also help the city provide better support. With Public Works, our street crews have began a new signage program on Quebec Parkway between US Highway 2 and 56th Avenue. Just this past week, they replaced a total of 10 signs and will continue this project, replacing more signs along Highway 2 between 64th and 120th Avenue. And then last but not least, our CCPD continues to crack down on drug usage and other crimes in Veterans Memorial Park. We've had 2 sting operations in the most recent month, to which that has netted a half a dozen arrests for possession of a controlled substance and similar charges. Our drone program has played a pivotal role leading to an arrest as it actually caught a suspected hand-to-hand drug exchange during one of those operations. So we will continue to do so within our parks and targeted parks and using the resources that we have available. Wanted to highlight the November 17th meeting, and in particular, there is on your work schedule 2 existing executive sessions. One is for the continuation of my performance evaluation as the city manager. There will be the first one, excuse me, thank you, Dylan, for that, is one receiving legal advice regarding federal grants. You have a continuation of my performance evaluation and obviously the 2026 performance standards. And then there is the third executive session with respect to the city attorney. The city attorney and I had a brief conversation today, and he is acknowledgeable and willing to have his evaluation shifted to December 1st. December 1st previously was held as a potential organization meeting given the election, wherein we believe the election will be certified on this, November 25th. That will lead to an organization meeting on December 8th. Therefore, it opens December 1st up for the application of additional items. Our staff is going to be walking through and seeing if there's anything that can be shifted from the December 15th meeting, given with how things have fallen under first reading that will occur on November 17th to the December 1st date. But the city attorney has acknowledged that he is open and willing to have his executive session shifted to December, which is still in compliance with certain things outlined within his contractual arrangement or agreement with the city.
Thank you. I had a question about December 8th. That's going to be is that a regular meeting or that's study session, correct?
That is a study session, but given the time frame in which we are having to take action under our charter, the organization meeting can be held. So I view it as a special meeting, but a special meeting that the charter already acknowledges for that transition of city council roles and responsibilities.
So it's going to be a special meeting then?
Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you. The council members, question, Mayor Pro Tem Noble.
Yep, I have a few questions. What is the status of the golf carts on the Buffalo Run Golf Course?
It is my understanding that the Parks, Rec, and Golf Commission has gone back and has been working with our staff on what process is necessary that is either driven under council further direction or guidance, and/or can be implemented or initiated by myself as the city manager. I have not received an update on that matter in the last 2.5 to 3 weeks, so I will have to circle back with Chad, our Parks and Rec golf director, to get a most recent update.
Okay, and since the clubhouse changes were approved in May of 2024, you had mentioned that there was a design that was going to be coming forward in November. Is that something we're seeing in November?
No, ma'am. So when I say design was coming forward, that was with Brinkman working through the construction documents and drawings. The contract, when you approved that in the August timeframe, so we went out to bid in May. We brought a contract forward for approval by council with a guaranteed maximum, or what we had identified at that time was to be the guaranteed maximum of $12.1 million for Brinkman Construction. In that, we've been negotiating the contract to be able to bring that to completion. Unilaterally, as we've been holding those contractual negotiations with Brinkman, we've had logistics meetings and a kickoff with respect of how to take the design of that building from 30% to 100%, which would then allow for us to begin construction.
And are we going to see the new design?
You will have an opportunity to see the new design when we've gotten to a stage of completion. I would say there'll probably be some slight changes just because of materials, but the substantive concepts of the space and the utilization of that space and the shape of it will remain consistent with what was bidded out as part of our process.
Okay, on the issue of sustainability, if we have a homeowners association, if the homes are in a homeowners association, the land development code or building code, whichever it is, talks about the kind of landscaping you can have, and you have, and fences, and you have residents who are violating our xeriscape ordinance and are violating fence height. Is that a code enforcement issue, or is that a homeowners association issue?
I think it depends on the relevant issue that's being presented to the city, and we would have to conduct some due diligence. I can't say unequivocally it's a code enforcement issue or it is a homeowners association issue. It could be both. It could be one or the other. What I would recommend and suggest that if there is a concern or an issue, is to have that individual, reach out to my office through our appropriate staff, or reach out directly to our code enforcement supervisor for them to be able to conduct some of that review and really that zoning inspection.
Okay,
and then
so
make
who
that
should that
determination.
go to?
That would be our code enforcement officer, supervisors, Ernesto Marquez. And I would have them either be able to submit that through our Access C3, or they can submit an email directly to our community development department, as we have that address on our website. But that would be the most advantageous way for us to begin that due diligence.
Okay, and then I have a resident, one of my 90-plus-year-old constituents who goes to Bison Ridge, noticed that the EV chargers are free. I didn't recall that we were making all of our EV chargers free, and it was pointed out to him by someone that they actually charge their vehicle there so they don't have to do it at home and cost themselves any money.
Yes, our EV chargers have always been free. There's been you all had a historic conversation about what to do with that, but there's never been any firm direction on what position for us to move forward with. And looking at assessing a fee, what is an appropriate fee, and what other subsidizations, if thinking about those who are using or not using it. And that's kind of where the position has been. So since we've not received that direction, we have just continued as status quo. But if there is a desire by the body to want to reengage, and obviously we're more than willing and would welcome a conversation if that is what you also choose.
Okay, thank you. There is, I know that we did traffic calming. The Public Works has traffic calming in effect, but Telluride is between 96th and 88th, or 81st is quite a mess. And what can we do to draw attention of Public Works and the police department to Telluride? I know they had someone out because of the street racing, but there are ongoing issues, the school there, the fact that it's a straightaway, et cetera.
Yeah, I think, it's what the community is doing now. I mean, obviously, we always continue as we receive requests, right? We do have a new traffic calming policy and a process that is now, made available for the public to understand how to move forward requests for traffic calming countermeasures. When it comes to general public safety practice, I think as you all know, you all received an email over the weekend with respect to Telluride Street in that general area about a concern, making that aware to you all. If you all share that with me, luckily I was on that email, if you all share that and pass it along, I can then engage with the police department on thinking about extra patrols and or other measures that we can be able to glean additional data and information that would allow for us to be able to more effectively enforce on the laws and from the model traffic code that we have. But generally speaking, when it comes to those matters, if the more information that we can get, the more that we can then be visible within those communities to be able to have a change behavior and culture around whether it's speeding, whether it's doing donuts, whether you name it, we can then be able to help, enforce a practice that then ultimately will give people pause in how they respond or how they act.
Okay, then that would be great. And I do want to be abundantly clear, I have raised this issue several times. It has been an ongoing problem. The final one is political signs. I know how exciting it is to win a race, but at the same time, we do have rules in place about removing signs promptly. And so would it be possible for the city clerk's office to send an email to candidates just to remind them that it's time to remove their signs per our Land Development Code, Article 8, Division 5?
Sure, I can answer that if you don't mind, City Manager Rogers. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Noble. Yeah, as part of the city clerk's office post-election process, they're going to send a reminder email to all the candidates of your final campaign finance reports, how to close out committees, please pick up your signs, right? If you remember when we had to change the LDC based on the Reed case, we can't regulate signs based on type. It's only based on, or can't regulate a sign based on content, only based on type. So theoretically, we need to look at those date restrictions if they exist within the LDC and make sure that candidates are aware of them.
Yeah.
I know City Clerk's Office and Community Development through Code Enforcement are going to have a post-election check-in to understand, what went well, what didn't go well in 2025, and how they can improve going into 2027's election. But yeah, we will notify all candidates of the reminders, those post-election
Okay,
reminders
and when did you
for them.
plan to do that?
Do which?
The reminder that you're sending to all candidates?
They will be sending that out. We typically try and send that out once the clerk's office will send that out once the election is certified. So here in the next couple of weeks, they'll send that reminder out because they'll need to be reminded of their December 5th campaign finance filing, the organizational meeting date, what to bring. We also encourage candidates, right, that weren't successful to sign up for the boards and commissions program. They've got a whole checklist that they run through.
All righty, then I would redirect you to Land Development Code, Article 8, Division 5. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other council members have questions? City Manager Rogers, you stated about the contract and on the clubhouse. And I know previously, well, 3 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, when this came before that council, previous council, there was exterior, interior design as far as products they were going to use. And then there was also a scope of what the build-out was going to look like. And so that really, the council should have an opportunity to see exactly what they're going to be building before they start to build. So,
I appreciate that, Mayor.
so can you tell me about that process? Because I wasn't understanding.
The process is that they're completing the construction drawings, and once construction drawings have been completed, we will then move into the permitting stage for issuance of that, so that we can then begin construction.
Okay, but what about the design coming to council of what the product's gonna look like?
So when you all saw a concept that outlined the functional space of that, they're utilizing that as a foundation for them to complete that 30% to 100% construction drawing. The materials, the details is just plainly spoken outside the scope of council. And where we're at in the stage of the review of the application is for us to be able to move to the next stage of vertical construction.
Okay, well, that's the first time I've heard that in my 10 years. And there's been plenty of construction projects that have come forward to this body, and we've always have seen what they are going to build. So we knew we could proceed what the final design and what the outcome is going to be.
I think there's nothing wrong with me being able to share with you an architectural detailing of what the building is, but we are at a stage of being able to break ground. Like I said, functionally speaking, the space and what's been designed in order to accommodate the uses of that space remains unchanged. The details as you get into as type of materials and so forth is where you get into a level of granularity or specificity that is, reliant upon the contractor's expertise and experiences and knowledge. But I think sharing with you all a high-level picture of what the outside of the building is going to look like in context or in comparison to where it started, I have no issue sharing that with you all. But like I said, we are at a stage of being able to execute on the various steps so that we can stay on schedule as been outlined with that contract or has been shared as part of that contract.
No, I appreciate that. It's just been a slow process, and in between there, those details could have been shared. So that's all I'm pointing out, because we're going to have more projects come forward, and we need to make sure when those contracts and projects come up, we can actually see what the design, the outcome is going to be prior, instead of going through the process as we are right now. So, thank you. Councilmember Dukes.
Thank you. Just following up with one thing with the golf carts. Councilmember Teeter and myself, we sit on that Parks Rec Golf, and during the last update, they mentioned it was a part of the subcommittee that they were working through it. So it is still in motion. It's still having a conversation. Their subcommittee is looking through and working with staff. So I just wanted to add to that. As far as the golf course and the City Manager Rogers, what my understanding is, and what I'm hearing is that, within the operational piece of your role as a city manager, providing the overall design, literally the color of the drapes and the color of the carpet, that's really within operational piece, or even design outside of the material, correct?
That is correct.
And then with that, this project has been, it's been laid. It's been a challenge. It was been approved years ago. But I think my understanding is a part of the challenge was that we did have the concept, and then a group of council members began to look and make designs and changes. And so it took it back to rescope it again, correct? And that's caused another delay.
That is correct.
And so if we look at it's 9 of us. And so if we begin to nitpick the design, the materials, and provide our own feedback on that with 9 voices, is that a productive way to actually get this project done?
Not at all.
Is that why coming back to us with like the scope, the overall vision and scope and design of the functionality of the golf course clubhouse, that is our role, correct, like, as a policy level?
Correct. At the policy level, your role is to identify conceptually the functionality and whether or not that functionality needs to be a subject of discussion, not the design, not the architecture, not the constructional services of that.
And we've done that already, correct? I mean, that's before we even put out the bid. Is that correct? Like, that's how we get the bid process.
That is correct. That is where you all weighed in during the various options, option 1, option 2, and option 3 that had different components, different functions within that space or within that budgetary amount to be for consideration. And you all made a selection of option 3, which looked at different facets for us then continue with the architectural design and contractual services.
That's correct. Thanks for bringing it up because we did look at the different options, 1, 2, and 3, and we all provided consensus on option 3 and also a vote, correct?
That is correct.
So I guess my last question, because it is a amenity that people want within our city. And something I heard, you said it is on track to start breaking ground because of negotiations you already have it. Like we're moving forward with that. Is that correct?
That's correct. With our contractual negotiations, we've had a kickoff meeting. We're working through logistics as it relates to construction trailers, to as you all may remember, that you put $100,000 towards a food truck to be located because we will have a closed kitchen and some of the other operational aspects. Once we're able to close that, the final aspects of that red line, which was a guaranteed maximum price, which is $12.1 million, we will then be able to move forward with, like I said, taking that 30% design to 100%, which at that unilateral stage will also be going through our permitting process so that we gain efficiencies to remain on track, close there too. Once again, knowing it's a winter time and you can't control what happens in winter, that we will then be able to put a shovel in the ground to be able to get the expansion going.
Okay, so I guess my last question on that project, at what point will you be able to share? I remember, actually before I got on council in December of '23, we had a big press release and it connected and showed the schematics. And then we had a meeting after that it tweaked some schematics and that's what delayed it again, but neither here nor there. But like, at what point do we will we be able to be informed, a community like the 100% or 90% schematics so we can share again?
Perfect question. I think when we think about wanting to celebrate this facility, once again, this facility has been updated since 1996. You know, this is something that is a very positive campaign messaging or opportunity for us to celebrate with the broader community. So it's then being able to share what the ultimate vision of that space is going to look like, both interior, exterior, from an architectural eye of what's appealing, aesthetically pleasing. During maybe a groundbreaking event that we would schedule accordingly so that, once again, we're inviting the community to participate, to see, and to know that, right, we've taken that next functional step in actually being able to deliver a project that's been well discussed since the early 2020s.
And I mean, I guess the question, like, what's the time frame of that? Is it a year from now, probably 2 years, or what? Just based on your negotiations, I think that's the heart of the question from everyone here. Is like, how is there? I guess, or is there a way to get an estimate? If you don't want to ballpark it now, is there a way to say, okay, how?
Yes, there's a way for us to get an estimate. I can have that conversation with our Parks and Rec golf director, build a campaign around what that time schedule looks like. Do I think it's a year? I think we can be more aggressive than just a year in being able to bring that final design, given that we've spent a significant amount of time getting from 0 to 30%, looking at that core functionality.
Okay.
But yes, we can, have something that I think is obviously delivered well before a year's time frame from a final design, and then think about that from a campaign perspective.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I just want to clarify. I didn't, City Manager Rogers, I didn't ask for you to just bring back before council for us to regurgitate this. That was not my question. I just asked about delivery. Now, you could have just gave me the same answer that Councilmember Duke just did. So I just want to make that clear. I was not asking for us to go over this, okay? Because that was already made clear about the contract, right?
Mayor, I responded to his question. That's simple as I did.
But you could respond the same way. Mayor Pro Tem Noble.
Thanks very much. And this has been a long haul again. It was approved in May of 2024. And the reason I remember that is because we were at the shopping center convention in Las Vegas. So it's been a while, 18 months now, and longer, I guess. But I do want to clarify. So Assistant City Manager Gibson, it is not any longer in our land development code regarding any rules about political signs. It's any length of time, and the city attorney confirmed it as he was sitting here. So I just want to make clear to all candidates, they can keep their signs up as long as they want, but I need to make it clear to my constituents who hate signs, they literally hate signs.
Yes.
That there is a rule in place that
Yes.
allows this, so.
Yes.
Anyway, all right, thank you very much.
Thank you,
Sorry
Mayor
for the
Pro Tem.
confusion.
You're good. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Councilmember Kim.
So outside of all of that being said, I think Mr. Rogers had a question previously, I think that was on regarding the November 17th meeting. And that City Attorney Zarzeki, your executive session, you're willing to push to December 1st, is that right?
Yes, and just for clarity, I did look at the employment contract and it contemplates a December review. So I'm, looking at that, you guys do not have to have that until December anyway. I do think that it's very important for all of us to have an executive session to discuss federal grants and to give you the legal landscape throughout the country on how municipalities, states, et cetera, are dealing with new grant terms that are coming out as a result of a number of the Trump administration's executive orders. So with that in mind, I would certainly recommend that we spend 45 minutes to an hour having that executive session, and then you all finish the city manager's executive session, and then you can push mine until December.
Okay, great. I'm glad you're flexible, and I'm good with that too. So to answer your question, I would say that yes, I would be okay as long as you are, that we move your executive session to the December 1st and have the other two as is for November 17th.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, City Attorney Zarzeki.
Nothing in addition to what's already been said, Mayor. I was going to give you a briefing on these executive session items, so we're good.
Any questions for City Attorney? Councilmember Dukes.
I just echo Councilmember Kim's comment. I'm okay if you're okay with moving to executive session. So thanks for your flexibility on that as well.
All right, thank you very much, City Attorney. Yeah, because we were thinking about the special meeting on the 27th, or whatever it was, the last Monday of November. So thank you for letting us know. All right, City Council reports. Any council members have reports?
I
Councilmember
do.
Douglas? Councilmember Douglas, then the Councilmember Kim.
Sure. I just wanted to recognize the loss of a student, 11th grader at Adams City High School last week. There was a candlelight vigil for her last night, Analia Zamora. And just want her family to know that we're offering our condolences in their loss. I can't imagine losing a child, and especially under the circumstances. It sounds like there was possibly bullying involved that led to this young woman taking her own life, and I can't imagine going through that. So I just want the family to know that we're suffering along with them. And then I also want to recognize the loss of Sheila Harris's mother, Hester. And I don't know Hester's last name. She is the sister of Esther, they have a lot to do with the Commerce City Historical Society. Sheila is the membership director, so want to recognize that loss as well to the community. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Kim.
Condolences to the family at Adams 14. You know, I recall especially when Sol Ashley committed suicide because he was bullied at Stewart a couple of years ago. And on top of that, too, I do know how serious 27J took that and was able to turn that into policy. Had some conversations then, obviously, with Adams 14. But it's unfortunate altogether. As far as council reports are concerned, I'll tell you right now. So Tuesday on the 4th, I had a Veterans Commission meeting. We discussed more so about tomorrow, which is Veterans Day. Part of Veterans Day, what they're going to be doing is at Eagle Point Rec Center. There'll be 8 a.m. flag raising, followed by some cake, coffee, and donuts with some oil painting by our former commissioner, Kevin Reed. Who will be there, and there'll be a light lunch between 11 and 2. So I do encourage folks to go out there and definitely go check that out. Wednesday, November 5th, had the Commerce City Police Department Citizen Academy. I am looking forward to hearing back about the CALIA certification. I do hope, which I want to knock on wood, that they did receive that accreditation overall. Overall, just tell you right now, with the academy itself, it's been great. Miss Joanna Smalls, their PIO, has been phenomenal as far as when it comes down to setting this up week after week. And Wednesday is gonna be the last one of the season. I highly suggest other council members and obviously residents too to go through it whenever it opens up again. Thursday the 6th had a youth commission meeting. With regards to their planning for next year. And there was a few other things that was brought up there. Leadership Commerce City, I was a part of that. I'm still part of it for now until another 7 more months or so. Been a great overall so far. It was Civic Day. Got a chance to hear from a lot of the department heads within our Commerce City staff. And understand that a little bit better. Obviously get a good refresher on that. DEI retreat on Saturday. DEI, the committee themselves, they started planning for 2026. And obviously that'll come back before a vote with the DEI commission itself. That afternoon, I did have as I call it, conversations with Craig. I don't have some fancy lingo like Councilmember Dukes has, which I need to figure out to find a different name for mine. But we did we had some candid conversations surrounding pedestrian bridges that crosses Colorado and maybe the Quebec corridors as examples. Youth opportunities, trying to expand that to include improving transportation. And obviously fostering development that would support activities for our youth. I did pass on the information over to Mr. Rogers already, and I'm looking forward to hopefully hearing something from that in the next couple of weeks. That's all I got on my reports.
Thank you. Councilmember Ford.
First, condolences to the family of the student that lost their life. Secondly, thank you to all of our veterans, and enjoy your day tomorrow. Make it about you. You deserve it. And thirdly, congratulations to all of those who won their elections. That's all.
Okay, Councilmember Dukes.
Thank you. Just to echo, thank you to all the veterans. Same, I hope you enjoy today, and I hope you get the opportunity to to get some of the free things that are going to be happening across the city and across the state. Without the veterans, we don't live in America the way it is, as America is today. So I appreciate you all. I want to also congratulate the victors of the election, as well as all the candidates. It is a humbling experience anytime you go and run a campaign. Everyone fought hard, and the opportunity to step up and serve is not missed on any of us, as we've all been through campaign, and it's not an easy process. But congratulations to those who won, and thank you for everyone who's chose to step up and run to move forward the city. As far as the leadership, I was a part of Leadership Commerce City as well as this Government Day, and so I thank you, Garrett and the team. And I was able to share just a little bit about myself, about the city, about the work here, and it's always a great experience to be at Leadership Commerce City. I was also able to participate and inspire Image Day with 27J, Brighton's Youth Commission, the Brighton Youth Commission, where they brought in school districts of 27J to share it into a lot of schools across the metro area that are from elementary school up to high school students, and they got to ask questions about, again, government and what to expect as they want to be more civically engaged, and so it was a great experience as well. On Saturday, I did have my monthly meetup, and a great turnout with the meetup. We were able to have a special representative, a special guest, so State Representative Shannon Byrd, who came and answered questions. And this was a great discussion because we were able to talk about topics including just needed infrastructure for our city, the funding challenges, economic development opportunities, and these efforts include like redevelopment of and near the Dick's Sporting Good Park, among other topics that were discussed that day. I appreciate everyone who comes out to those, and I will be putting out a new schedule early next year, as this was the last one for this quarter. We thought it was very important to have Representative Shannon Byrd there, because as you know, she's running for CD8, and it's critical to have conversations for our city about things that, what I learned in DC, that there are barriers that are preventing us from growing, and I think at a federal level, we need to make sure that we talk to anyone who's in office or federal office or running for office about some things that are hindering our growth in Commerce City. So I hope this helps and takes it to heart if that's the direction, if you want support from Commerce City residents. That's it. I guess I do have one question for City Attorney. It's part of my time. I forgot to ask about ATVs and motorbikes and where we're at with that ordinance. I didn't see it on our agenda for a couple weeks.
It's a very good question. I did have a conversation with the city attorney in Aurora about their recent code changes. I will have a side conversation with you, and I'm happy to communicate out to council on what that conversation was like. But basically, like I think I had said in the last meeting, their ordinance came into effect very recently, within the last 2 weeks. So they have not issued any citations as of last week when I spoke to the city attorney. But I do plan on giving this full council an update.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Noble?
Thank you very much. City Manager Rogers, are you in a position to make note of what you showed me earlier?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for that. So, happily on a Saturday, I got a quick screenshot from the chief in which, using one of our drones, they were able to locate 3 or 4 e-bikes being operated by youths. I can't say what age, but I'll just generally say youths, to which they were able then to make contact with a patrol car who was able then to engage and have a conversation with them. So obviously we understand that there's that concern, and that's been expressed, and I know the Mayor Pro Tem has shared that with council and with myself, and the chief and I, obviously we take those things seriously, so we devised a plan and added an extra patrol and using the resources that, was able to drive some, hopefully, response, which will lead to some change in behavior with what we've seen, so.
Yeah, thank you very much. Drones can keep up with them, I suppose. But it would also be really helpful, I think, to have some sort of educational social media program to let parents know what the rules are surrounding having motorized vehicles and the age and that kind of thing, so that parents know that there may be a drone spotting their kids.
Funny that you actually bring that up, ma'am. I've been talking with my team to my right about campaign opportunities. That's one that's been discussed, RVs, e-bikes, and how do we get, a variety of messaging out on our various platforms that talk about the landscape and the behavior that we have an expectation, or if that's not seen, how we will enforce. So that is a campaign of one of many that is under works.
Okay, wonderful, thank you. And I was happy to participate last week. It's always inspiring to me to attend the Image Summit that the City of Brighton puts on. The City of Brighton actually has a full-on youth services department. So it is an official department at the City of Brighton, and I think that's really cool that they take their youth that seriously. They have had students as far away as all of the state of Colorado. I'm not sure that they had as many from around all of Colorado this time, but they certainly had a great turnout, and it's always wonderful to talk with the young people who are just really interested in making change in their own communities and in their own schools. And I also attended the CFFF, which is the Capital Facility Fee Foundation meeting. And that is a foundation that works with developers and builders to collect contributions for new school construction and facility expansion within the school district. The meeting always requires a minimum of 2 developers to participate, and or we can't have a quorum. So we only had one. We only had one from Oakwood Homes this time. But it was noted that the schools have lost students, and in particular, schools in our area had lost students to the new charter school at 81st and Telluride. Several hundred students, I might add. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. And also, Councilor T, did you have it? Okay, thank you. Also, my condolences to the family who lost their young child. That's very unfortunate. That occurs, especially in our community. And then I want to thank the veterans, for those who work for the city, who live in our city. Enjoy yourself tomorrow. Tomorrow's Veterans Day. Take advantage of it. Last week, also attended Dr. Cog Decarbonization and their rebranding. So instead of decarbonization, it's going to be Powerhead Colorado. That was also updated on a sub-award to Commerce City. City Manager Roger, did the city receive that sub-award from decarbonization?
We did, sir. That being said, there will be a conversation next Monday to talk about the next steps with respect to that and another grant. And I think, for where we're at right now, I'll leave that discussion at this stage, but look forward to diving into more of those details around the grant process, and with my colleague to my left about how we proceed forward more universally with respect to that. But we do have it in hand. We are at the stage of determining whether or not to certify that arrangement or agreement or accept certain provisions. And I want to make sure that there's some awareness and clarity and or potentially some guidance from council as it may pertain to like I said, those next steps. So more to come next Monday on that matter in the main.
All right, appreciate that. And the other was, Dr. Cog talked about the Transportation Improvement Project, the TIP. Did we submit any, I know Adams County has several in there, but did the city submit any 10-year projects?
I would assume so, but I can't speak 100%, Mayor, but I am going to take a note down so that I can follow up with our Public Works Director on that. I know there was awareness of the TIP deadline, so I'll circle up on that one.
All right, and then the speed bumps on Olive.
Very good question. I asked for an update on that as well. You may note from the last meeting in last regular meeting in October, I shared that we were still gathering information. I will say that is a rather unique situation that when we did the original speed study, that was done in the summer when school was out. That actually gave a little bit more consistent data. With school being in session, we have I'm going to butcher the reference, but we have the signage that states while school is in session or flashing. So you're getting different behaviors along that section of Olive. So we're having to take a little bit of a creative approach to make sure that we're getting data that is not being somewhat colored by already the existing countermeasure that we have with speeding through that or the reduction of speed when people see that signage. So hopefully we'll have that information, that data about what can and cannot be done here with you all in the next couple of weeks.
All right, thank you. 'Cause I'm still getting phone calls and about people are still driving fast, so thank you for that update. And also want to thank all the candidates this past election last week. Stepping up and running for office is not easy, and for those who were successful, we will see that process in December. So thank you. Mayor Pro Tem, did you have something else?
Yes, thank you very much, Mayor. I just want to address my insensitivity in not speaking and giving my condolences to the family of the student who passed away. It is very discouraging to me that social media in particular has become so toxic that there are victims and the perpetrators typically get away with it. I am very deeply saddened for the family and for her friends. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, seeing no further business, we're adjourned. It's 9:46. Thank you.